palace intrigue and the jockeying for position, and then you're going to have a new nominee who most of the country probably doesn't really know or have a good feel for, and then you've got 8 weeks. I mean, that's a big ask.
Can I just add, I mean, Bill raised the open convention alternative option, which I think is like what would happen in the West Wing episode if there was a West Wing episode about this. And
we could do a debate.
Everybody would just convene, the president would endorse someone, and everybody would just line up behind them, and the public would be happy. That is not how it would work. And I think this is the piece that's completely underestimated. Joe Biden had a terrible debate night, terrible performance. I worked for him for a year and a half, as you know, and I don't think anybody should tell you otherwise. But an open convention means you have an amazing bench of potential 2028 candidates. A lot of the people we saw out on Thursday night. You have the Vice President of the United States. You have them competing against each other. You have a group of inside Democrats, not the American public, by the way, who nominated Joe Biden, who decided to nominate Joe Biden, selecting who the nominee is. And then after that process, somebody is spit out of that process, and a lot of people are angry. They're disappointed. Maybe they don't like who the person is, and then you have a person who is untested, even if they're great and they have enormous potential, which we have a lot of 2028 Democrats who do, who's untested with low name ID and a party that's divided and upset. That's the potential outcome of an open convention.
Right, as you said, Charles, essentially they're saying we're stuck. We don't have a good way out of this, and it's not a good position that we're in.
But when do Americans get back to the country? We all have our issues, cultural issues, political issues, weaponizing justice, all that. But at what point do Americans realize that we have a country to save? This man is impaired.
That's not what I heard from Barack Obama, who tweeted, "Bad debate nights happen.
Does he care?
Trust me, I know. But this election is still a choice between someone who has fought for ordinary folks his entire life and someone who only cares about himself, but someone who tells the truth, who knows right from wrong, and will give it the American people straight, and someone who lies through his teeth for his own benefit." Last night didn't change that, and it's why so much is at stake in November, which is basically almost verbatim what Joe Biden said on the rally stage in North Carolina. So interesting.
They had a meeting, I guess, and they decide what the spin is going to be. But I can't believe that they care so little. The commander-in-chief is impaired.
Well, I'll tell you, it's interesting because people take that Barack Obama statement and say, well, they're sticking with him and they're going to they're sticking with him for now. I think this is still a little bit of a wait and see to see how bad the damage is. And if it's recoverable, I mean, I know the immediate reaction, and Brett Baer was reporting this, that a lot of those in the inner circle were saying not recoverable, but they're going to give it a shot because in the interim, until they have a plan B, they're going to have to stick with the big guy. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. We'll pour over more of this, hear from more of those spinmeisters on the Sunday Talkies at 5:38. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
5:31 on AM 560. The Answer, 55 degrees and sunrise. Storms in Switzerland and northern Italy caused extensive flooding and landslides, leaving 4 dead. As of Sunday afternoon, firefighters in Italy have rescued 80 so far in the northern Piedmont region. French voters face a decisive choice on July 7. It's a runoff of snap parliamentary elections that could see the country's first right-wing government since World War II's Nazi occupation was ending. Official results suggest Marine Le Pen's anti-immigration Nationalist Party stands a good chance of winning the majority in the lower house of Parliament. Longtime Donald Trump ally Steve Bannon scheduled to report to a federal prison in Connecticut to serve a 4-month sentence. President Biden spent Sunday at Camp David discussing the future of his re-election campaign with family members. The private weekend retreat follows a nationally televised debate that left many Democrats wondering about Biden's ability to actually win in November. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum says President Biden is not capable.
We are at a greater national security risk today than we were on Thursday because the commander-in-chief showed that he's not capable of serving.
Maryland Governor Wes Moore telling CBS's Face the Nation overnight he will not be seeking the Democrat nomination for president this year. Senator Raphael Warnock on NBC's Meet the Press says Biden should stay in.
The question this morning is not what is Joe Biden going to do. The question is, who has Donald Trump ever shown up for, other than himself and people like himself?
The president blamed his performance on a cold. A campaign spokesperson, Michael Tyler, said it was a bad moment, but the president is healthy and will be competent. Forecasters are keeping a weather eye on Hurricane Beryl in the Caribbean. Beryl built to a Category 4 storm in the southern Caribbean from a Category 3 over the weekend. Boeing has announced plans to acquire key supplier Spirit Aerosystems for $4.7 billion. It says the move will improve plane quality. The struggling aircraft and aerospace giant previously owned Spirit. The purchase will reverse a longtime Boeing strategy of outsourcing work. CTA passenger was killed. The driver shot while riding on the city's south side, according to Chicago police. The shooting happened this morning around 12:15 in the Bronzeville neighborhood. Police are searching for suspects involved in a shooting that left 3 dead overnight in the city on the city's south side and happened around 2:15 a.m. on Sunday. ShotSpotter technology brought Chicago police to the scene. Chicago's minimum wage is going up starting today. The minimum wage increases to $16.20 an hour. Also today, the near highest in the nation gas tax in the state jumps by 2 cents to 47 cents a gallon. Cubs had just 2 hits in a 7-1 loss to the Brew Crew, while the White Sox could not finish off the sweep. They had their 2-game win streak snapped with a 5-4 14-inning loss to Colorado. Patrick Williams staying with the Bulls, signing a 5-year, $90 million deal over the weekend. The news is a service of Valdecas Windows for the discerning homeowner looking for high-quality and professional-level window replacement service. Contact Valdecas Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor. Visit Valdecas.com. We'll have a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
This radio station is always on, but sometimes you need more content that you can take with you anywhere. That's why we invented the SalemPodcastNetwork.com. You'll find all the great hosts on this radio station, plus a few more, like Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, Trish Regan, Jenna Ellis, and Dennis and Julie. There's literally no end to what we can teach you. It's like radio on demand, and just like radio, it's always on. Go find out what you're missing. Download the app, SalemPodcastNetwork.com. The new 2-part documentary, Trump's Front Row Joes, is the first inside look at Trump's diehard fans.
The Front Row Joes are incredible people.
Camping out for days to be in the front row at every Trump rally to support their hero.
The kind of basis for all the rallies, there's like dead fans.
Trump's Front Row Joes, from executive producer Sean Spicer.
You had to love Mr. Donald Trump.
Trump's Front Row Joes. Watch it now. Go to salemnow.com. Salemnow.com.
Building owners, property managers, and chief engineers. This one's for you.
Hello, this is Bruce Diedrich with Waukegan Roofing, your professional roofer. Everything starts on top. Your investment, your building, and everything in it is protected by your roof. It needs to be in good shape. That's where we can help. If it needs to be repaired or replaced, or you think it might, call us. Let's find out. Here's the number.
847-623-1625.
At Waukegan Roofing, our employees are union-trained roofing professionals with OSHA safety training certifications and have thorough knowledge and expertise regarding the various roofing systems we sell, maintain, and install. We know commercial roofing systems because that's all we do. Over 110 years of doing commercial roofs. Waukegan Roofing has the slogan,
Roofs you can rely on.
because you can. Here's the number to call.
847-623-1625.
And get the info at WaukeganRoofing.com. WaukeganRoofing.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements. Changing the world one life at a time.
I've been watching it on TV, and then my son has my husband, and I guess he just called up and surprised me. He had ordered it, and I didn't expect it for me to notice it so right away. I kind of shocked my husband when I told him. I've been taking it like a little over a week. I'm taking it, and then I can already notice the difference. I do feel very good. I can't even put it into words. I feel really good every day. I don't wake up grouchy. I love everybody to take it. I think it's wonderful.
Splash into your summer with Balance of Nature's summer savings. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first set. Don't miss out. This offer is only available while supplies last. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this limited time offer by using discount code Chicago.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
5:38. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of Remke's Garage. Take it to the experts. Take it to Remke's Garage. The shop at Remke's Garage is equipped with state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment and highly trained technicians. Visit Remke's Garage. That's REMKES Garage.com. Schedule your inspection today. Remke's is your Sprinter, Diesel, and Toyo tire headquarters. I-80 accident right shoulder. It's on the eastbound side, right before Brisbane Road. Still remains in your way, and delays downtown because of that NASCAR street race setup will continue all week long. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Mostly sunny, beautiful, high 75. Enough said. 56 right now. Your next news is at 6. Breaking news as it happens. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
This hourly segment is sponsored by Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman. Listen Saturday mornings at 8. Learn more at willsave.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning, Charles T. Charles
That's
Thomas.
me.
Charles, we're talking about all of the machinations going on in Democrat ranks to prop up and then decide what they're going to do with Joe Biden. If they can do anything, first of all, they got to get Joe Biden to decide he wants to do something different than staying the course, which was not evident over the weekend subsequent to the Thursday night debate, was it?
I think it's Jill is a major player in this. She's got to be.
No question.
And when she was at the rally in Raleigh in North Carolina, I mean, she was the ringmaster. She was the MC, so to speak, because they probably couldn't get anybody else to do it at that point.
Maybe, although there are a lot of people that were courageous, quotation marks, enough to show up for the Sunday talk shows to flack for Joe.
Well, yeah, because I think they probably had a meeting.
Right.
Friday and Saturday, they had a meeting on what they're going to do in the short term. They did it. But I got to think they're still meeting. They're still meeting, and they're considering other options to Joe Biden. You know, this guy did not look as, is he going to last another 7 months? I mean, upright.
Well, one. I mean, that's sort of an imponderable. Maybe not even his doctor knows. But Chris Coons from Delaware, Senator Chris Coons to you, he's our guy.
Look, John, the most important swing state is Pennsylvania. That's where I campaigned all day yesterday. And the most important newspaper in Pennsylvania is the Philadelphia Inquirer. And they said after that campaign debate, the folks, the leaders of a political party who ought to be going to their nominee and saying, you have no business running for president, is Republicans who should be telling Donald Trump to drop out of this race after the torrent of lies and vengeance and anger that he unleashed on that debate stage. I think the Philadelphia Inquirer got it right and the New York Times got it wrong. And the only Democrat who's ever beaten Donald Trump is Joe Biden. He is our candidate for November, and he has the best shot to beat him.
That was part of the spin you heard over and over again from different talking heads. I mean, I love it.
I lived in Philly for 6 years, and believe me, the Philadelphia Inquirer has about as much influence as the Chicago Tribune, L.A. Times, any of those papers.
Well, Atlanta Journal-Constitution would call for Biden to drop out, and of course, you just heard Coons when the New York Times, the gray lady, says to serve his country, Biden should leave the race. Mr. Biden has been an admirable president, opines the New York Times. Under his leadership, the nation has prospered. I mean, it's the New York Times, and begun to address a range of long-term challenges. And the wounds ripped open by Mr. Trump have begun to heal, but the greatest public service Mr. Biden can now perform is to announce that he will not continue to run for re-election. New York Times, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. But that does not dissuade the Dem Socialists. And by the way, I do give them credit for their consistent, to be euphemistic, brashness. I mean, not only should Biden not leave, Trump's the one who should. Republicans, after that debate, should be calling on Trump to leave the race because of his lies and so on and so forth. Actually, Nancy Pelosi took it one step further. Not only should Trump leave, Trump is the one who has mental infirmities, not Biden.
My people are very much Biden, Kamala Harris, and this is an opportunity for Joe Biden to go out there and show he has the stamina and the rest. And by the way, while the press, and for some reason they don't, there are healthcare professionals who think that Trump has dementia, that his connection, his thoughts do not go together.
Okay. Have another Tito's on the rocks with a twist, Nancy, and boy, I mean, easily Trump should leave. He has dementia. Whatever you say about us, we're going to say about you 10 times over.
It is Orwellian.
I mean, come on.
Orwellian, my friend. Orwellian. Double speak. Was that what it called?
The real question, I don't know why we've been talking about Biden. The real question is, should Trump stay in the race? That's what we should be talking about. That's good stuff. You heard Mike Scott play the Wes Moore clip, governor of Maryland. Wes Moore, same story you're hearing from Chris Coons. Nancy Pelosi over her skis, but from Wes Moore, from Biden
I
camp.
will not. And Joe Biden is not going to take himself out of this race, nor should he. He has been a remarkable partner.
Are you confident that the only person, the only Democrat in America that could beat Donald Trump is Joe Biden?
Joe Biden is our nominee. Joe Biden is our leader. And Joe Biden has earned, and Joe Biden deserves the confidence, the respect, and frankly, the partnership that we now have to provide to him. And so I will be in Chicago. I will proudly be supporting the president in Chicago. I will work through November to make sure he gets reelected. So yes, I do think that President Biden has earned the respect of Democrats, and Joe Biden is going to be our leader going forward.
How about it? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Bill O'Reilly posted over the weekend, not inconsistent with what we heard from Brett Baer on Friday. The decision has been made, and the president will quit the campaign. 2 reasons. Democrat internal polling says he cannot recover from the debate, and fundraising is drying up. So it's over for Joe, but the White House doesn't know how or when to make the announcement. Stay close. Well, again, I mean, they can be presenting one thing in public while working through something else in private. I understand that. But Jen O'Malley, who is the campaign manager for Team Biden, put out this memo, and this is part of the spin you heard of the weekend, too. Nothing's changed. In point of fact, and by the way, some of the damage control that the press was trying to do for Biden was really something. Latinos now favor Biden after that debate because there was some Spanish-speaking focus group of a dozen, but the headline is, no, you got it wrong. Joe Biden won the debate. He's doing better among these. I mean, but this is, it's not just that spin. It's coming right from Jen O'Malley. A flash polls from CNN, 538, Service AUA, Morning Consult, Data for Progress show what we expected. The debate did not change the horse race. No. Morning Consult, large campus of independent poll, has President Biden gaining 1 point post-debate, now leading 45-44 at 538. The face-off doesn't seem to have caused many people to reconsider their vote. Oh, you let it marinate just a bit. Let it get around a little bit more. Let the memes populate and so forth. But this is what they're saying. It's in Jen O'Malley's memo. It's Anita Dunn. She's another Biden advisor. She was on MSNBC saying the same.
No, the conversation that we had is, okay, what do we do next? Mm-hmm. Okay, that is, if there's one thing that we're about, it's, okay, as Barack Obama said, bad debates happen. We had a bad debate. What do we do next? And, the president, above all, is focused on what do we do next? What do I need to go do? And I think you saw in North Carolina, he knew exactly what he needed to do yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Snap back.
I got to think that somewhere in this Democrat plan is what's going to happen on July 11th when this judge sentences Donald Trump. And will they wait for the fallout from that before they make their big decision?
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, no, I think that still is a little bit gooey too. How people are processing what was, of course, platformed during the debate on Thursday night. Convicted felon, twice impeached, convicted felon, agent of chaos, all that whole line of attack. But it just isn't having the impact, I think, at least until this point, that they thought it would have. Although there is a cohort of independents, some of the polling had that less likely to vote for Trump after the conviction. Now, if he's sentenced to prison and then you get that spin, which I think he will be, then you get that spin. This is a bad person. He's been sentenced to prison time. He's a threat to democracy, and they regurgitate that. Can that keep Biden in the race? Well, maybe technically on paper, but then you still have the matter of the September 10th debate, which, of course, on Friday he also immediately accepted as part of the damage control, staving off the wolves. So, the problem is what we know, and they now know, a lot of scales falling from eyes, but they weren't admitting until after Thursday night, and they're still not admitting to some extent, is that Joe Biden didn't have a bad night. He's incapable of a good night. That's a different thing. And you have the reporting out over the weekend. He's good between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., and then things, according to staffers, spoke to Axios, then things go off the rails a little bit. Then it's a little bit difficult. Well, that's basically like sundowners.
Yeah, well, that's part of the deal.
And to your point, Charles. Yeah, and to your point, Charles, being president of the United States is not a 6-hour-a-day job.
He's trailed by the football everywhere he goes. That is your guy who has 7 minutes. They say 7 minutes to make a decision on whether or not to launch. That guy is making that decision.
Now you know why Zelensky's saying, maybe we should talk. Gabby and Schaumburg.
Hi, good morning, guys. The spin, the panic, the desperation. I just had this vision in my head like, oh, crap. What are we going to do? The ballots are already printed up. The fix is in for him to win. We can't get rid of him now. Just get him across the finish line. It's something that just came to my head. It was incredible to watch. 2 different realities that we exist in. That's all I have to say. Have a great day.
Thanks for the call, Gabby. Yeah, we spent a good time talking about that on Friday with Cass. Is the shock, some of it feigned, some of it genuine, but the genuine shock in so many circles on the left, because they live in this echo chamber of CNN and MSNBC, where the evidence of Biden's deterioration is rarely presented, and you have, of course, the propagandists like Morning Joe in reaction to her report he is basically mentally unfit to stand trial, which is why I'm not going to pursue a prosecution. And this, of course, is Joe Scarborough's reaction. This is less than 90 days ago.
But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now, he's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent.
Undersold him.
He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually.
I mean, better than he's ever been.
I can't believe people look at that and they don't see that it is propaganda.
I can't believe.
I just can't believe that.
I can't believe that. It's sort of like Mayorkas. It's the only people they have less respect for than themselves is you, the viewer. Absolutely. And I would say that to Morning Joe viewers and CNN viewers. How do you listen to that, know what he said, and then you tune back in to take him seriously? Like he's providing you some good insight? Or you're just looking, again, people want to live in echo chambers. We need a broad diversity of opinion on things, but just I'm going to say my echo chamber. The dichotomy. We need more voices, new voices, but here I just want to stay in my echo chamber, listen to whatever Morning Joe feeds me, spoon feeds me, because I'm a child intellectually. That's the only way you can react to what they've done. I mean, in a sense, if you're going to stick with them. You're not interested in news. You're not interested in thinking. You're not interested in processing information or seeing angles. You're just interested in being spoon-fed the official story from hired guns for one political party. Okay. There's a pretty myopic way to live your life, but people are entitled to do it.
Don't believe your lying eyes.
Corey Woodlawn.
Hey, good morning, Charles and Dan. If you liken Joe Biden to a drunken, ill, lucid auntie watching the children in Washington, D.C., of course he's their favorite auntie. Of course they want him watching them for another 4 years because all of their wet dream socialist ideas are realized to him. They do not want this guy replaced. He is the perfect puppet.
Thanks for the call, Corey. I agree with that. I mean, that's a different way of saying what I've said about him for years, which he's the consummate company man. Wherever the Democrat Socialist Party is, that's where you'll find Joe Biden, which is why his views on every issue under the sun have metamorphosized a few times over the last 40 years.
So do you think Obama is running the show in the background? Or is there some other cabal that's involved here?
I think it's mostly the same team, right? It's not Obama per se. It's not he's doing day-to-day operations, but I mean, we see the same players. It's the same staffing at the highest levels for the most part, with the exception of a few Biden loyalists that go back from the first two Biden, the Joe Obama administration, the first two terms, and now this is the third term. The Susan Rices and Valerie Jarrett's not living in the White House with them, but the Mayorkas was the Jen Psaki. I mean, all these people, Kate Bedingfield, all these people that you saw on TV on Sunday as former Biden staffers, former Obama staff. I mean, it's all been basically the staffing of the Democrat Party for the last 15 years, hasn't it? Michael, Southside.
Morning, Dan. Morning, Charles. Thank you both for taking my call. Is it me or do the Democrats already have a game plan? Truth be told, the hardcore will vote for Biden no matter what, and that's what they're banking on. So I can see, I suspect their plan is to, just get Biden over the finish line in November, and then in a year or so, push him out and move up Kamala Harris.
Possibly. I mean, it's hard to have that as a plan. You don't know because you don't know how fast this condition is going to deteriorate. I mean, it's deteriorated significantly just in the last 4 years.
In the last few months, believe it. I mean, from the State of the Union until Thursday night, it deteriorated. I don't know if it was the result of drugs at State of the Union, but he looked better. Not great, not good, but he looked much better State of the Union. And look at him now.
Well, right, and to the point, what happened? Why they were going to pump him up with whatever cocktail he needed to get through the debate. Well, at some point, the condition deteriorates slowly over time, and then you sort of go over the edge.
Yeah.
And I'm not celebrating it. I'm just describing it, right? We all know this. And, there's only so much drugs can do.
And you also noticed him physically trying to leave the stage on Thursday night. He needed help to get down 3 stairs.
Yeah.
This guy is your commander-in-chief.
Yeah.
Roosevelt was in a wheelchair. I get that. But this guy has that plus the mental the mental decline as well as the physical decline.
Well, and to the point you were making earlier, it becomes at some point a national security issue.
It is.
Right? I mean, so it's not, this is the 21st century. You can't have Edith Wilson running the show and nobody know it. You can't have Eleanor Roosevelt in charge and nobody know it. Everybody's going to know it. And then everybody saw it. Now everybody. I mean, again, 80% of people thought he didn't have the chops for another 4 years before the debate. I mean, so the majority of the American electorate has seen enough to draw the commonsensical conclusion, and all that happened on Thursday night is it confirmed their instincts and frankly. Drove home the point in spectacular fashion. It's like shocking fashion, I think, to most people.
I'm betting that he's not going to be on the ballot in November.
You don't think so?
I don't think he'll be there. I think they'll dump him by the convention. I think they're waiting for the sentencing to see where things really are with the electorate. They'll do their polling, and then they'll come up with an alternative. They would love to do it now. They need as much time as possible with a new person, but I think they're going to give it until the 11th of July. On the sentencing, they'll be leaning on this judge guy, Marchand or whatever his name is, to really throw the book at Trump, and then they'll tell the American, you don't want a jailbird to be your president.
At 6:06, we'll continue this conversation. Also, discuss the important Supreme Court decisions that were handed down on Friday. Now we turn it over to Mike Scott for the headlines.
3 killed in a South Side shooting, and Chicago increases the minimum wage. WIND, Chicago News Time, 6 o'clock.
They want President Biden to keep running for re-election. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
The stakes of this race couldn't be higher, and the only Democrat who's ever beaten Donald Trump is Joe Biden.
Senator Chris Coons on NBC's Meet the Press has many Democrats now rally around the president. Despite last week's debate performance, the House's Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries tells MSNBC,
"We're running against a con man who lied his way through the entire debate on Thursday."
President Biden's family and advisors also reportedly urging him to stay in the race at a Camp David gathering over the weekend. We'll get the final Supreme Court rulings of this term this morning. The most anticipated one, the Trump case. The former president's claim he should be immune from prosecution, which has delayed the 2020 election-related Trump federal trial. Ex-Trump advisor Steve Bannon goes behind bars today for contempt of Congress related to the 2021 Capitol riot.
After being denied Friday by the U.S. Supreme Court for a delay in sentencing pending an appeal, it's 4 months in prison for former President Trump advisor Steve Bannon for ignoring congressional subpoenas in then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's J6 investigation. He claimed executive privilege.
Fox's Jeff Manasso. There are 2 Boeing updates this morning. The company's buying a key parts supplier, Spirit Aerosystems, for more than $4 billion. The other potential Boeing deal is with the Justice Department and could be even bigger.
The DOJ plans to charge Boeing with criminal fraud and has presented the commercial airplane manufacturer with a plea deal after Boeing violated the terms of a 2021 deferred prosecution agreement that was put in place following the 2 737 MAX crashes in 2018 and 2019.
Fox's Sue Guzman. Those crashes killed 346 people. Victims' families were briefed on the potential Boeing guilty plea offer, and they object. U.S. military bases have been put on heightened alert status in Europe, with a defense official telling Fox there's credible intelligence of a plot to attack. America's listening to Fox News.
Sunshine, 55 degrees, a beautiful start to the holiday week. At 6:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A CTA passenger killed, a driver shot while riding on the city's south side. According to Chicago police, The shooting happened this morning around 12:15 in the 3400 block of South State Street in the Bronzeville neighborhood. Police and the CTA reviewing surveillance footage, and there is no one in custody. Police are searching for the suspects involved in a shooting that left 3 people dead overnight on the south side. ShotSpotter technology brought Chicago police to the Chatham neighborhood around 2:15 a.m. A man and woman were rushed to a nearby hospital with multiple gunshot wounds and pronounced dead. A third victim was rushed to an area hospital and later also pronounced dead. Chicago's minimum wage goes up today. Chicago increases the wage to $16.20 an hour. Also today, the near highest in the nation gasoline tax jumps by 2 cents to 47 cents a gallon today. Taxes on sports wagering will also go up. A search resumes today for a swimmer who went missing in Lake Michigan near Evanston.
2 teenage females, 1 adult female, and we had a 41-year-old male. The 3 females were brought in with the assistance of one of our citizens who were at the scene swimming.
Firefighter Jeff Boetto with the Evanston Fire Department says crews responded yesterday to a distress call from Lighthouse Beach about 4 swimmers struggling in the water. Rescue crews had been searching for the 4th swimmer, a 41-year-old man who remains missing. Cubs lost to the Brew Crews 7-1, while the White Sox couldn't finish off the sweep. Lost to Colorado in 14 innings, 5-4. Well, the future's here for the Blackhawks as free agency kicks off in the NHL this afternoon. Hawks with about $25 million in cap room, following up on 3 selections made in the first round of the NHL draft last week. The news, a service of In Grace with Jim Scudder Jr. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. We'll have a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Your home is a valuable asset, and you want to take care of your home. From roofs, siding, windows, and doors to furnaces, flooring, landscaping, and much more. Listen to your go-to for all things home. It's Home Answers Radio every Sunday morning at 9. Presented by Lang Home Medical Equipment, Executive Green Carpet Cleaning, and by Valdecast Windows and Doors. Get answers from industry experts so you can make informed decisions about your home improvement. Right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Scott Bartmus, co-founder of ESCO, a security and fire alarm services business, and a customer of Signature Bank. We work hard to give our customers peace of mind, so it's nice to know that while we have our customers' backs, partners like Signature Bank have ours. When COVID hit, there was a lot of uncertainty for many businesses, particularly surrounding the PPP loan program, with parameters and deadlines changing constantly. The executives from Signature Bank worked weekends alongside their staff, filling out and submitting applications to ensure they took care of us. That type of dedication is hard to find, but we found it with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
If you had $1 million in 2009, today it will be worth less than $700,000. That's the effect of out-of-control government spending shrinking your hard-earned dollars, and it's why central banks and savvy investors are buying gold. For thousands of years, gold has withstood war, famine, and economic downturns. It's been a stalwart hedge against inflation and hyperinflation. And the company I, Buck Sexton, trust to help you diversify into gold is Birch Gold Group. For 2 decades, Birch Gold has helped concerned Americans convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And the best part, it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. With an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, you can trust Birch Gold, too.
To learn more, text the word PROTECT to 989898 and get a free, no-obligation info kit on gold. Again, text PROTECT to the number 989898 to protect your hard-earned savings today.
Okay, I've never seen a discount this huge from Balance of Nature before. This discount is for a very limited time. So today is the day you should order Balance of Nature. Look, if you've been listening to me for a while, you've heard me rave about Balance of Nature's amazing fruits and veggies supplements. You've heard their customers rave about how much they love Balance of Nature and how good it makes them feel. If you've been on the fence about ordering, today is the day you should absolutely jump off the fence, because right now, for a very limited time, Balance of Nature is taking 50% off your first set as a preferred customer during their summer savings promotion. But you got to use my special code when ordering. Take their risk-free money-back challenge today. Use the discount code MikeG to get 50% off your first order. Call 800-246-8751, 800-246-8751, or order online at balanceofnature.com. Use the discount code MikeG to get 50% off. This is an extraordinary offer. Get 50% off your first set today. Balanceofnature.com. Balanceofnature.com.
6:08. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is the service of Del Bacchio Marchetti Group of Ad Properties, Christie's International Real Estate. With over $800 million in sales, you'll get the most value for your home. Call 708-828-0000. Inbound Kennedy 27, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Shouldn't be too bad on the inbound Dan Ryan this week. We'll keep our eyes on it. 16 now, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. No other major problems out there this morning. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Mostly sunny, beautiful day. Great day to be outdoors. High today at 75. Cleared this evening, then clouds late, a shower, low 63. And then partly sunny tomorrow, a shower in the area, the high at 85. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
56 at O'Hare, 61 Midway. Next news at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Scott Tucker Solutions and his show Retirement Decoded. Sunday mornings at 8. Learn more at scotttuckersolutions.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning, Charles Thomas, former ABC7 political reporter.
Yeah, that's me.
That is you.
That's me.
And Charles, did you see this tweet from the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Illinois? Her name, Juliana Stratton. And it was a picture of her with her daughters standing behind her, I assume in her office at the Capitol. When it's take your daughters to work day at my black job.
That is her black job, because in the J.B. Pritzker world, that is a black job. Be lieutenant governor, ceremonial, really have no impact on anything other than to stand next to him, to make him look as though he is a supporter of the black community. That's a black job. What's she talking about?
Oh, it's an interesting interpretation. I was just sort of taken aback. I didn't know that even jobs have racial identities now.
Well, that's quite a meme that's circulating now on Black Twitter and elsewhere, that when Trump said something about black jobs, those are black jobs. Now people are saying, well, do I have a black job? I mean, what is a black job?
Oh, yeah. Well, in the same debate, they may want to take judicial notice. Biden referred to small black businesses.
Oh, yeah.
So are they also sending around memes saying, I'm going back to my small black business. I'm at my black business.
Man, people right now, those hardcore Biden supporters, hardcore black Democrats, they're reaching for anything right now.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I mean, their knuckles are turning anything but black as they try to hold on to this Democrat Party thing. And, my thought is, hey, just move to the middle. It's so much more comfortable there, and make your decisions based on issues, not on party. And, people are beginning to come around slowly, but they're beginning to come around. I mean, there are the estimates that are saying that Donald Trump could win as much as 20 to 25% of the black vote, particularly the black male vote.
Well, right. And I mean, some of recent polling has him basically in a statistical dead heat in states like Virginia and New Jersey. So if he's expanding the map that widely, then there is something afoot that was incredibly problematic for Team Biden before Thursday night's debate. And despite the best efforts of the press corps, I hate to break it to you, it's exponentially more problematic after Thursday night's debates.
And let's say something very clear, make a point very clearly here, that when he's talking about black jobs, he's talking about jobs that black people could have.
You're talking about
these newly arrived immigrants will take and work at a much lesser rate than native-born black Americans.
Well, he's also talking about how low the unemployment rate was for black Americans during his presidency as compared to now. And, oh, by the way, this is what Juliana Stratton and the Democrats do here because they can, because there's no political opposition. They do memes about national politics. They just heap hate on Trump to avoid having to explain why, for example, Illinois consistently is among the highest in the nation in terms of both unemployment rate and unemployment rate for minorities in particular, and in particularly the city of Chicago, and then particularly for young black men.
And, the black unemployment rate was the highest in the country under Barack Obama, ironically. And Donald Trump reversed that during his term in office. And those are facts. That comes from the Economic Policy Institute, which tracks black unemployment state to state. And during the Obama years, it was the highest in the country. During the Trump years, it subsided, and Trump had the lowest black unemployment rate of any president in recent history.
That's true. Some other facts that Juliana Stratton and Governor Jelly Belly don't want you to pay attention to. Just focus on hating Trump, maybe the Pride Parade, NASCAR, the DNC, the bread and circuses, and our fun online. Just focus on that. Don't focus on this. More IRS data out. Our friends at wirepoints.org bring us this information. The IRS released the 2022 migration data. So this is pretty good, where people are filing their taxes. North Carolina, Texas, and Florida, the big winners in migration. If you're not growing, you're dying. You want more people to come to your state. You want to be a magnet for people and their capital and businesses and entrepreneurs. North Carolina, Texas, Florida, the big winners. California, New York, Illinois retain their title as the biggest losers. The contrasts here are really interesting. Not new, but interesting nonetheless. And here's something else, too. You don't get this information, and this is not talked about anywhere else. So this is like most of the Chicagoland area doesn't know this, like so many people didn't know about Biden's condition because they're in an echo chamber. If they're in any chamber at all, they're never going to be fed this kind of content, exposed to this kind of information on any other platform, and so they don't know. They see the city deteriorating around them. They see the ghetto culture. Mm-hmm. They saw it this weekend with the naked bike ride and, of course, the public fornication parade, in addition to the violence and everything else. But that's just big city living. That's what my bettors tell me, and so that's what I buy. Back to the data. Florida gained 245,000 people and $36 billion in net adjusted gross income with those 245,000. Texas had a net gain of 181,000. That's $10 billion in AGI. North Carolina, 83,000, $4.6 billion in AGI. California lost 307,000 people, losing $24 billion AGI. New York, 222,000 people, $14 billion. Illinois bled 87,000 residents and $10 billion in adjusted gross income. Something else about this. who's leaving and who's staying, or I should say who's leaving and who's incoming. In Florida, incoming residents, 245,000 of them. The average household income, $156,000. Those moving out of Florida, people are leaving Florida. The average household income of those leaving Florida, $96,000. $60,000 to the benefit, household income coming in versus household income leaving. Illinois, opposite, continues to lead the nation in this disparity. The average incomes of people coming in to Illinois, $86,000. Average incomes of people moving out, $124,000. So, almost a $40,000 deficit. $60,000 to the positive for Florida, $40,000 to the negative for Illinois. But we're not losing population, and everything's fine, and Trump is a bad man, and that's all you need to know.
And, Governor Pritzker has done a great job in expanding gambling, recreational weed, and making Illinois a destination point for abortion.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to build a couple of prisons, right? Stateville and Logan, from the ground up. That's his capital program, and who's going to be in those prisons. Yep.
Other interesting data. Just to, don't pay attention to any of this. Just Trump is bad man. And Biden's our guy. And the DNC and the blah, 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 and Lollapalooza and so forth. And how about them Cubs? How about them Cubs? The 911 update story, also from Wire Points. If you're not, I shouldn't just use. If you're not consuming Wire Points, if you're not listening to this show, then you have no evidentiary basis to understand what's going on. Because that's the state of the Chicago Press Corps and the Springfield Press Corps.
Yeah, Wire Points is great because they are what they call them, an aggregator or whatever, but they have a very good feel for what people need to know.
Quality of life. Like, for example, if I call 911, is anybody going to come? I wonder. That's a good question. There's a lot of reason to wonder. In Chicago in 2023, following up on the report they did about a year ago, 2022 data, they've got the 23 data. More than 1,800 calls were made to 911 of a person being shot. Only 800 were responded to immediately by police officers. Fewer than half of 911 calls saying somebody got shot get a police response in a timely fashion. Many victims had to wait an hour, maybe several hours, for the police to finally arrive. I mean, this is not like somebody broke into my car and there's no imminent threat. Somebody's calling saying someone was shot, we need the police, and ostensibly an ambulance.
Yeah, Dan, that's the worst part.
The
ambulances aren't there.
And fewer than half of the calls are responded to.
Right.
I mean, let that sink in.
The 7-year-old child who was shot, I believe a police officer put that child in a police
squad car and took her to the hospital.
And took him to the hospital because the ambulances were all occupied at that point.
I mean, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do other than amplify it on a little platform and hope that it gets picked up and people take it and have a conversation about this. What the hell is going on? I mean, this is, you can hate Trump all you want. That's not going to get a cop to a 911 call. Your hatred of Trump. You signing on to the tunnel vision of the craven political class here. I mean, and all these, where were all the violence interrupters and the community organizers and the, civic leaders, self-styled and self-identified, to address this? This is a competence issue, right? Competence. You can hate Republicans all you want, and tax the rich and this and that. Just repeat all of the boilerplate of the left. Whatever. Your kindness is everything, and hate has no whole place at your home, and blah blah blah. Fewer than half of someone was shot calls are getting a police response. Explain. Right? I mean, that's just a straight competence issue. It's straight. We have to direct resources to these first responders so we have the requisite capacity to deal with life and death situations. It seems to me like that's a rank that would be at the top of the priority list.
And they come up with the money, for the migrants.
Oh yeah,
obviously. So the money's out there to do something, and then now you have a situation where you don't have enough police officers, you don't have enough people who want to be police officers. So had something very interesting happen. We got a minute?
Yeah.
I was driving in my car down Jackson because I live on the West Loop area, and that's where the police training center is. So I see the recruits out running, and I look at them and say, my goodness, they're children. Look at them. They're so young. So I passed them, and then they caught up with me at the light. I looked at the group, and I noticed that they were young adults, but they were mostly women. That's why they were so small. They were 5'6", 5'5", 120 pounds. And I'm saying, am I looking at the police department of the future? And I'm going, wow. These women were fit. They were in shape.
Yeah.
They were so small.
Yeah.
And they're going to be the cops. They're going to be the cops 5 years from now in Chicago.
Cops in Chicago where everything has to be hand-to-hand combat because you're not allowed to use your weapons.
Oh, my gosh.
Right?
Man, it was shocking. It was shocking.
The same 911 report, 32,000 calls of assault in progress. 32,000 times somebody was doused with a big gulp. Or maybe perhaps something worse.
With a big gulp.
Yeah. 50% of those calls responded to. Same thing for the 35,000 batteries in progress. That's actually physical. Assault could be you have a reasonable fear for your safety. Battery is there's a physical altercation going on. 54% of the city's 911 calls unavailable, police unavailable for 35,000 batteries. Overall, 783,000 high-priority 911 calls in 2023. For 437,000 of those calls, or 56%, long periods of backlogs meant there were no police immediately available. High priority, like real crime.
Yeah, and once they get rid of the shot spotter, there'll be less reason to respond in those highest crime neighborhoods in the city, because that of course is racist. They're over-policed, even though that's where they have most of the shootings and murders. But this is the crazy logic that we're faced with.
Pay no attention. Pay no attention to the outmigration. It's not happening. We're gaining population even as we're losing congressional seats. Sure, whatever you want to, whatever you say, Jelly Belly, right? Go along with it. Pay no attention to the public safety in Chicago. Look, they know what they're doing, and it's working, and you just have to give it time. No, I got it. Okay. Pay no attention to the layoffs. John Deere laying off 600 people, half of whom work in on the Illinois side in Moline. Pay no attention to the environment for capital formation and job creation. Pay no attention to the reading and math scores as we pour more and more money into these government K through 12. Everything's whatever they say, right? Just do the same thing that Joe Scarborough does. Do the same. Follow J.B. Pritzker the same way you follow Morning Joe. Just take in whatever agitprop is offered that morning, whatever is spoon-fed to you that morning, and then just spit it back up anytime somebody has a different perspective or different understanding or presents evidence that runs contrary to your understanding. Just spit up that agitprop. and go about your merry way, hoping that you can make ends meet in this state, hoping that your kid will get educated in this state, and hoping that you're one of the 46% who gets a response from the police when you call 911.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. On AM 560, The Answer.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
My name is Dr. Zhang. I'm a doctor of podiatric medicine.
My name is Todd. I'm a paramedic firefighter. I've been on the job for 28 years.
My name is Dr. Peter Munda. I'm a chiropractor in New York, Long Island.
I've been taking Balance of Nature for 23 years.
I love Balance of Nature, and this is definitely a product that I would recommend to other people, and I'll never stop taking it.
How many 70-year-old pictures you know? As far as Balance of Nature goes, I'll keep taking this stuff until the day I die, you know?
I'm almost 55 years old, and because I have so much vitality, I can really enjoy the great outdoors. Our bodies are kind of like machines. If you do not give the machine the proper nutrition, it's not going to work very well. Simple as that.
Splash into your summer with our summer savings. Go to balanceofnature.com and get 50% off your first set as a preferred customer by using discount code Chicago.
Yeah, I think I said 46%. It's 44% who get their 911 calls responded to in the city. And you were just making a good point off air about ShotSpotter. Make it on air, Charles.
Yeah, the ShotSpotter system causes police to respond to where those antennas are. So consequently, the cops are going to the places where you have the most shot spotters, which is the hood.
Yeah,
the south and west sides of Chicago. So you take those shot spotters out, then suddenly those officers are not going to be responding into those areas, and you're going to have fewer cops in the areas where you have the most violence. Incredibly stupid, Brandon. Just incredibly stupid.
It's going to be a great set. We got Lollapalooza coming, Charles. We got the NASCAR race.
Lollapalooza?
Yeah, we got the DNC. It's going to be great. Everything's great.
Yeah.
It's Candide.
It's going to be the DNC is going to be a good one.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a good one. Yep.
If you're often feeling tired, lacking motivation and drive, gaining weight, or noticing a loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone. Don't wait. Find out. At Low T Center, they make it easy to get your levels checked. It's just a simple blood test. And with their on-site lab, you get your results back in about 25 minutes. Low T Center is concierge medicine for men. Their physicians specialize in treating low testosterone with customized treatment for each patient. They have more than a decade of experience helping patients achieve life-changing results, and most health insurance is accepted for treatment. For established patients with stable T levels, they also offer convenient physician-monitored self-inject treatment plans that ship directly to you each month without the need to come in for weekly visits. And at Low T Center, your BMI and health can also be evaluated for treatment with prescription weight loss medication. So get back to your best. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment today. That is lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com. AM 560.
The Answer.
Dan and Charles Thomas in for Amy J. And at 6:36, we'll return to the Biden saga and whether he stays or whether he goes. What may be happening behind the scenes right now? Maybe we've got a case study here, one that both Charles and I had involvement in different ways. What the Jack Ryan saga might provide in terms of insight into the Joe Biden saga at 6:36. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
55 degrees at 6:32, and today is the last day for the Supreme Court decisions for this term. Rulings on key cases still to be announced.
In these final days of the Supreme Court term, a highly presidential immunity will come. Ohio Republican Senator J.D. Vance, on the short list to be former President Trump's running mate, said on CBS Face the Nation, immunity lets presidents act decisively.
The same way that police officers, judges, prosecutors enjoy some immunity, that principle has to apply to the president, too.
Democrats say no president, in office or not, is above the law. The timing of this decision could affect if the former president is tried in his pending federal and state cases before Election Day. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
President Biden spent Sunday at Camp David, where he was said to be discussing the future of his re-election campaign with family members. Fox's Doug Luzader is following that story.
Stay in the race. That's apparently the message President Biden is advisors as he wraps up a quick stay at Camp David. Nearly all elected Democrats, meantime, are at least publicly still behind the president despite last week's disastrous debate performance. Some Biden family members are putting the blame for the debate meltdown on the advisors who helped prep the president. Top campaign officials are trying to calm nervous donors now who are questioning whether Biden can continue the campaign. A number of party insiders and even the New York Times editorial page are now urging Biden to drop out.
A new CBS YouGov poll showed that 72% of registered voters do not believe the president has the mental and cognitive health to serve another 4 years. A CTA passenger was killed, a driver shot, riding on the city's south side. According to Chicago police, it happened around 12:15 last night in the Bronzeville neighborhood. Police and the CTA are reviewing surveillance footage. Police are also searching for suspects involved in a shooting that left 3 dead overnight on the city's south side. Residents in the area said they heard sounds of gunfire around 2:15 a.m. on Sunday morning. In the Chatham neighborhood, ShotSpotter technology brought Chicago police to the scene. The near highest in the nation gas tax will jump statewide today by 2 cents to 47 cents a gallon. Taxes on sports wagering will go up. Also today, migrants who cross the border illegally can now apply for a standard Illinois driver's license. The search resumes today for a swimmer who went missing in Lake Michigan near Evanston.
2 teenage females, 1 adult female, and we had a 41-year-old male. The 3 females were brought in with the assistance of one of our citizens who were at the scene swimming.
Firefighter Captain Jeff Boetto is with the Evanston Fire Department, saying crews responded yesterday to a distress call from Lighthouse Beach about 4 swimmers struggling in the water. Crews are back on the water searching for a missing 41-year-old man. Cubs lost to the Brew Crews 7-1. White Sox cannot finish off the sweep, losing to Colorado 5-4 in 14 innings. Patrick Williams apparently signing a 5-year, $90 million deal to stay with the Bulls. The news, a service of Remke's Garage. Take it to the experts. Take it to Remke's Garage. The shop at Remke's is equipped with state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment and highly trained technicians. Remke's Garage is your Sprinter, diesel, and Toyo tire headquarters. Visit REMKESgarage.com and schedule your inspection today. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Windy City Safes in Niles wants to help you celebrate America this summer by giving away a Liberty Personal Home Safe. Enter to win from now until the 4th of July at 560theanswer.com/safe. That's 560theanswer.com/safe. And make sure to stop by Windy City Safe's showroom at 7310 North Milwaukee Avenue in Niles and receive a free American flag to display in your home or business while supplies last.
You've worked hard and accumulated wealth,
but you know the pitfalls involved in passing significant assets to your heirs. The team at Spahn Financial will help you feel secure with personalized financial planning to achieve your legacy goals. They anticipate and manage all your wealth planning needs and focus on the full financial picture, including tax efficiency, income distribution throughout retirement, philanthropic giving, estate planning, and more. They even help you prepare the next generation to be good stewards. Kevin Spahn is a 2024 Forbes Best in State Wealth Advisor and Barron's Top 1200 Financial Advisor. Visit SpahnFinancial.com to schedule a consultation and to view disclosures. That's SPAHNFinancial.com. Forbes Best in State Wealth Advisors List, April 2024. Data as of 6/30/2023. Barron's Top 1200 Financial Advisors List, March 2024. Data as of 9/30/2023. No compensation provided for ratings. Marketing fees apply to promote ratings.
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com for Town Hall. Thursday night's presidential debate made one thing very clear. Democrats have lied for 4 years about Joe Biden's capacity for office, and the mainstream media has abetted this fraud the entire time. As recently as last week, the media seized on White House spin over legitimate videos of Biden as cheap fakes, attempting to gaslight Americans into disbelieving their own eyes. Democrats in the administration, as well as the House and Senate, have insisted all along that Biden in private was sharp, engaged, and entirely competent, not just now, but for another 4 years. After the debate showed the emperor without any clothes, CNN and MSNBC began to report on rising panic among Democrats over the upcoming presidential election. But they're panicking about all of their elections now because their fraud on American voters just got exposed on national TV. The media will panic too and attempt to foist more gaslighting to cover their complicity in this fraud. Voters in America need to make all of them pay in November.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I work for the New York City Fire Department. I've been using Balance of Nature for 8 years, I believe. It's been phenomenal. And I just got retired after 33 years. I work long hours, a lot of overtime. I teach at the Fire Academy. I run with the mornings. I work out all the time. And your product has been so successful for me in my regiment. I have nothing but high praise for you guys.
Splash into your summer with Balance of Nature's summer savings. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first set. Don't miss out. This offer is only available while supplies last. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this limited time offer by using discount code Chicago.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
6:40, check on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update is a service of Mattress Firm. Mattress Firm's July 4 sale. It's your chance to get matched with your coolest Z's yet. Save $500 on Tempur-Breeze mattresses with free and fast delivery. All night cooling all summer long. Discover the difference the right bed makes. Restrictions apply. Kennedy at 38, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Much lighter than normal this holiday week on the inbound Ike. 40 in from 390 to the old post office. Pretty heavy 20 though on the inbound Dan Ryan, 95th into the Burns Circle. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Mostly sunny and beautiful today, high 75. Clear early, then cloudy late with a stray shower, low 63. 56 and clear at O'Hare. Next news at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning, former ABC 7 political reporter Charles Thomas. As we were talking about earlier in the program, Joe Biden is down but not out because he knows.
I know, like millions of Americans know,
When you get knocked down, you get back up.
Yeah. So he's on the comeback trail, and he had all of his friends / surrogates on the Sunday talkies, aides and Dempals from across the fruited plains to flack for him, saying, Joe's our guy, don't panic. He is still best positioned to beat Trump. He had a bad night, but he still has a record of accomplishment. He is a force for light, and Trump is a force for darkness. Nancy Pelosi going so far as to say it's actually Trump who has dementia, not Joe Biden.
How about her?
I mean, it was some real doozies over the weekend. But my point, as I teased before Mike Scott's news, there's sort of an Illinois parallel to this, Charles, and it's not a perfect parallel, but to offer perhaps some insight that other shows can't, because they haven't been involved in a high-profile candidate replacement the way that I have, and Charles has covered as a reporter, did cover as a reporter. Rather than just sort of, talking from your behind, as is the want in most of these spaces. The Jack Ryan case, 2004.
I remember it.
So Jack Ryan's, as I'm sure most do listening to this show, so Jack Ryan's sealed divorce records ultimately come out, and it has allegations of him attending Parisian sex clubs with his wife, then subsequently his ex-wife, Jerry Ryan. And there was some other salacious accusations in the divorce file that during the divorce proceeding and a custody battle, there were allegations that, Jerry, maybe she didn't really want to go to the sex club. She felt pressured, and so on and so forth. So this comes out, and Jack Ryan never thought it would come out. He never could quite internalize that it's more likely than not it's going to come out, despite being told that was likely the case. You have to assume and then act accordingly at minimum. He just never sort of mentally prepared for it, and so he was sort of irreparably wounded by the disclosure, and of course ultimately withdrew. But just being there, I was on his campaign at the time. I was his policy director in the general election. And actually his campaign manager was Jason Miller, who's now a Trump spokesman. You've seen him. And after the divorce, I've told this story before, but it has sort of new relevance, I think, because of what's going on with Biden. So it's interesting to compare and contrast. The divorce records come out. So what does the Republican Party leadership do? Compare this to what you saw over the weekend with Biden. Judy Bartopinka, Jim Edgar immediately throw Jack Ryan under the bus. Immediately. I mean, the press conference with him responding to the publication of his divorce proceedings. I mean, the press conference was barely over, and Jim Edgar and Judy Bartopinka were running to microphones to say he needs to get out of the race because they're such prudes. They're such social conservatives, Jim Edgar, Judy Bartopinka, and the Republican leadership of the time. And, it's something that has afflicted the Republican Party, which is why it no longer exists functionally. So compare that to the rallying around the flag you see going on right now. Knowing, by the way, throwing them under the bus, Topinka and Edgar and others, but they were knowing they didn't have a plan B. No, they had talked to no one. They had no compelling candidate lined up. Oh, Jim, you have to do it. I'm not doing it. And then you got down to, of course, what ultimately was Alan Keyes. But this was after they passed over the second place finisher in the primary. They didn't want Jim Oberweis and so on and so on. This whole side, it couldn't have been handled worse. But of course, the Illinois Republican Party was in charge, and they run for the hills at the first sign of trouble. Everyone save yourself! And see what the Democrats do over the weekend. Everyone rally around this guy. We got to at least embrace him for now until and unless we can figure out a better way. That's smart politics, even if you have to endure the Nancy Pelosi's and the Ralph Warnocks and the Chris Coonses of the world.
But, back in those days, and I covered the whole Ryan Obama race, and People got the story. Everybody covered it. Everybody covered the story the day it broke, and for a week or so later, it was everyday news.
Right.
Today, it's different. They'll kill the story. There are certain media out there who would kill the story. They would maybe mention it the first day, but then they would start the spin immediately. Look at the Hunter Biden laptop story. That was a game changer, and they did not cover the story. They didn't put reporters on it to find out what really happened. It was a top-down whitewash of the story, and it probably was the difference in the 2020 presidential election because they didn't cover it. In those days, we covered it, and we let the chips fall where they may. Not anymore. You got people who are trapped in these echo chambers who listen only to that one version of the story, and the story can disappear on those medias.
Well, you're right, and that's probably this spin combined with a little bit of distance. This is probably what Team Biden is doing around Camp David. Let it breathe. We're almost into the Independence Day weekend. It will dissipate. There will be other news events that happens. We can be attacking the Supreme Court right now. Trump's immunity case, that opinion comes down today. He's going to have to roll out his vice presidential running mate at some point, so that will run interference into this performance as well. Of course, you can't make the commercials go away. You can't make the videos that will be ubiquitous from here to the end of the campaign till Election Day. And maybe we can really take a hard look at how we set expectations for the second debate and what, if anything, we can do so that Joe Biden can meet or exceed those expectations. But just going back to Jack Ryan, the other thing I think they're doing right now, because this is what we did. Well, first of all, it was interesting because, nothing is easy. So there was no, he was going to hand it off to somebody either. We weren't, after the Republican Party threw Jack Ryan under the bus, we're like, well, go pound sand. We're not going to communicate with you. You're basically making our job harder. So then everybody was siloed off because of the Illinois Republican Party leadership, because of people like Jim Edgar and Judy Bartopinka and their fecklessness and their cowardice, which is something that has punctuated, of course, the party here for a long time. But what the Democrats are doing now, which is the better approach, is probably saying, let's keep watching this. The Jen O'Malley memo, the campaign saying, look, we've got these polling results. It hasn't materially changed the race. This is what Kate Bedingfield said over the weekend as well. She's a former Obama comms director.
But what we see in all the data that has emerged since Thursday is the fundamental head-to-head hasn't shifted. People are not suddenly moving to Trump. In fact, what we've seen is that people felt like Trump's arguments were not persuasive. They were concerned about what he said about January 6th.
Yeah. That's just spin. But it's good spin. The fundamentals haven't changed. Don't panic. Let it breathe. This thing will boomerang back to where it was pre-debate. At a certain point, everybody will calm down and settle back in. And this is actually the argument I made to Jack Ryan. Look, you took the initial hit and all the salaciousness and, oh, no, this guy's a creep and all that. But then people start talking and say, well, wait a second. And we were pushing this out, too. Wait a second. This was with his wife, okay? This is whatever, husband and wives do. Do you really want to get into that business? Number one. Number two, in terms of any allegations from her, you have to look at the context of this, too, that this was in this was during a bitter divorce proceeding, which included a child custody battle. So factor that in. By the end of the week after the divorce records were released, the race between Ryan and Obama was basically back to where it was before the divorce records were released. I know because I saw the polling. And I think that's what they're doing right now, to see if this doesn't just snap back, if you can pound away at at what people saw and the understandable concerns that have arisen based on what people saw, who are swing voters in swing states, which is all really, the cohort they care about. Everybody else is just noise for their team.
Dan, what's the Kennedy factor here?
The RFK?
Yeah.
It's nil. I mean, you mean in terms of like as he could he really get some
well, I mean, could
win
he,
behind him on this?
Could he, particularly given Biden's problems, attract some of his support, some of his voters? He could be a release valve, so to speak, for a lot of people who.
Yeah, but the only way you would have to have the Democrats throw in with him. They would have to go all in with him, right?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, if he's going to be on the ballot, certain states. I mean, could he, attract 5%, 5% in a place like Michigan or Pennsylvania, and that 5% would be out of Joe Biden's hide, so to speak.
Well, okay, but I mean, what's the you're saying Democrats push RFK, or you're just saying it happens organically?
I'm saying that there's no Democrat in this country who couldn't look at that debate and see what's going on. They're holding on to the party. They're holding on to power. I get that.
Right.
But, man, they got to understand that this guy is not the guy.
How about, I mean, but I can't have the other guy. I mean, this is John Fetterman in Pennsylvania. How about John Fetterman at the debate? Right?
How about that? How about that?
So, I mean, they saw John Fetterman, I mean, basically in the same state as Joe Biden, and they said, we'll vote for the potted plant over Dr. Oz because it's a numbers game, because it's a power game, because I'm voting for my home team, and I don't care who my home team puts up. I got to stick with my home team. And maybe you can persuade enough in the middle, or the swing, I should say, to stick with your guy too because of whatever, because Trump's a convicted felon who's got to serve prison time, because he's an agent of chaos, because of he's a right-wing extremist, because he's Hitler, because the Republicans will control Congress and the world will come to an end. Whatever ghost story you're going to tell, can you start from your established base and then move a couple of points in addition to with your superior ground game with vote by mail and
migrants.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, right. Be honest. I mean, that's really the conversation going on. This is a realpolitik conversation. This is not how we're going to, persuade people that Joe Biden is the great vanguard of Western civilization. This is just nuts and bolts power politics. How do we get this, this zombie across the finish line? Can we do it? They did it with Fetterman. It's not quite the same. I get it, but
if they get Biden over the line, and again, I don't believe he's going to be in the ballot, but if they can get him over the line in that condition, this will be legendary stuff in the political consultant business.
Yeah, I'd say. John in Portage Park.
Good morning. During the debate, Biden called Hamas a terrorist organization and that they are the ones impeding the peace process in the, foofra they have in Israel with the Israelis. Do you think that will hurt Biden in Michigan, a swing state, and with younger, Jew-killing, kill the Jews protesters?
Thanks for the call. I mean, I think it's sort of built into the price at this point, and I think they sort of know that. You can't be on the side of Hamas, and you separate them from the Palestinians, and you try to middle the issue by being tough on Hamas, but also tough on Netanyahu, because, you need the secular Jewish voter is a huge constituency for Democrats too, and important in some states, particularly, by the way, if Biden's going to turn New York into a swing state or New Jersey into a swing state. But no, I don't think that's a huge issue. I think it's really marginal. Yeah, does it hurt him in Dearborn? But again, that's already built into the price. They're already upset with him in Dearborn. So what are you going to do to mollify Rashida, a nutcase like Rashida Tlaib? You can't do anything. So you got to split the difference, which is what they've been doing from the beginning. You're going to get hit by traffic going both ways, but that's the choice they've made. And so what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that it was the right choice, but it's the choice they've made. They have to stick with it and just add that in as part of the established calculus. David in Winnetka.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. A couple of points here. So, the mental illness in the Democratic Party, anything can happen to Biden. Like, they could come out and say, and Biden's head has fallen off. They're still going to vote for him. It's just absolutely absurd. And I think there's a psychological thing where you would rather believe a lie than believe that you've been duped. And so I think that's going on with that and the Trump derangement syndrome, and add it all up, and they're still going to vote for Biden. So, but the second point I wanted to make, you were mentioning police presence earlier. I bought a secondhand work truck about 4 months ago, and the person I bought it from signed the title in the wrong place. So, anyways, I have no license plates on my truck, front or back. For 4 months, I haven't been pulled over. I haven't been nothing. I mean, I've been in front of cops, parked next to cops, back of cops. I just think they're so overwhelmed that if it's not a huge crime going on, they're just going to try to avoid it, I guess. But
Clearly, I mean, if you get fewer than 50% police response to 911 calls of a shooting, of a person being shot, then writing meter, being a meter maid is down the list of priorities. Not to mention that they get as much heat for writing traffic tickets as they do for giving chase, because the defund the police crowd in Springfield doesn't want them to be able to pull people over, because pulling people over is racist too. Kelly in his vehicle.
Yes. Good morning, Dan and Charles. I just wanted to touch on something that Charles said a few minutes ago, or maybe an hour ago, about the 7 minutes with a nuclear attack. Going back to every president since Clinton, I've always looked for and noticed the nuclear football near the president when they exit Air Force One or Marine One. I have never once seen the football anywhere near Biden, and I make a point to look for that.
Thanks for the call, Kelly.
Good.
Charles finds great relief in hearing that. He hopes it's true. Coming up at 7:07, we'll turn our attention to some geopolitical matters we were touching upon, including Ukrainian President Zelensky suggesting that maybe it's time to talk about an armistice. Very interesting. Geopolitics with the Heritage Foundation's Stephen Bucci at 7:07. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
3 killed in a South Side shooting. Chicago's minimum wage goes on the increase today. Search resuming for a swimmer who went missing in Lake Michigan near Evanston. A new gas tax goes into effect in Illinois. Williams signing an extension with the Bulls. Cubs lose to the Brewers. White Sox fall to the Rockies in extras. And the Blackhawks making moves. WIND Chicago News Time. 7 o'clock.
Backing President Biden. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. A lot of Democrats are doing that now.
One debate does not define a person's record or the kind of person or the situation.
Senator John Fetterman on Fox News Sunday. Senator Chris Coons tells ABC's This Week.
The only Democrat who's ever beaten Donald Trump is Joe Biden. He is our candidate for November, and he has the best shot to beat him.
The Biden families also urged the president at Camp David to stay in the 2024 race.
Politico reporting that the family is pointing the finger at his top campaign advisors for how poorly the president did Thursday night. Politico says the blame was cast widely on staffers, including Anita Dunn, the senior advisor who frequently has the president's ear, her husband, Bob Bauer, the president's attorney who played Trump in rehearsals at Camp David, and Ron Klain, the former chief of staff who ran point on the debate prep.
Fox's Madeline Rivera. In 2 hours, the Supreme Court will rule on the Trump case and the former president's claim he should be immune from prosecution for official acts taken in office, which has delayed the 2020 election-related Trump federal trial. Ex-Trump advisor Steve Bannon has to report to a federal prison today in Connecticut.
Days after the U.S. Supreme Court denied a last-minute bid to put his 4-month sentence on hold while he appeals his contempt of Congress conviction. A jury found the 7-year-old guilty of contempt in 2022 for not complying with the House January 6th committee subpoena for his testimony.
Fox's Ashley Strohmeyer. Some American troops overseas may be targets.
All American military bases in Europe have been put on heightened alert status due to a potential terrorist attack. A U.S. defense official telling Fox News there is credible intel pointing to an attack over the next week or so.
Fox's Kathleen Maloney. Hurricane Beryl is now a Category 4 storm again. It's gotten stronger as it is also on track to hit the Windward Islands, Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, the Grenadines. America's listening to Fox News.
55 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A CTA passenger killed, a driver shot while traveling on the city's south side. Chicago police say it happened around 12:15 in the Bronzeville neighborhood, 3400 block of South State, early this morning. There is no one in custody. Police are searching for suspects involved in a shooting that left 3 dead overnight on the city's south side early Sunday morning, actually, 2:15 a.m. in the Chatham neighborhood. ShotSpotter technology brought Chicago police to the scene. Chicago's minimum wage going up starting today. The minimum wage increases to $16.20 an hour. Business leaders say the change has stifled development and investment and crushed small businesses at a critical time. Also today, the near highest in the nation gas tax jumps up again by 2 cents to 47 cents a gallon. Search resumes today for a swimmer who went missing in Lake Michigan near Evanston. Firefighter Jeff Boeto, a captain with Evanston Fire, says his crews responded yesterday to a distress call from Lighthouse Beach about 4 swimmers struggling in the water.
With the conditions of the water and the waves, there's just zero visibility out there for us.
1 woman, 2 teen girls were rescued by a community member. One of the teens treated and then released from a nearby hospital.
Well, when we put the red flag up, that's there for a specific reason. No lifeguard on duty. You're entering the water at your risk, and we don't want to have what happened today happen to anybody else.
Rescue crews have been searching for a 41-year-old man who remains missing. A firework malfunction at a private show in Lake County, Indiana, left 7 injured Saturday night in Griffith. Officers say that private show was taking place at a home in the area when a malfunction occurred. Alongside the 7 total injuries, authorities say the malfunction damaged 4 nearby houses and 10 vehicles. Cubs lost to the Brew Crews 7-1. White Sox lost to Colorado in 14 innings, 5-4. Patrick Williams has apparently signed a 5-year deal worth $90 million to stay with the Bulls. Cam Davis celebrating his first victory of the year, winning the 2024 Rocket Mortgage PGA Classic at Detroit Golf Club. The news, a service of Crosscom Public Adjusters. If your home or business has an insurance claim, Crosscom will help you get what you need and have coming to you. They've helped thousands. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Windy City Safes in Niles wants to help you celebrate America this summer by giving away a Liberty Personal Home Safe. Enter to win from now until the 4th of July at 560theanswer.com/safe. That's 560theanswer.com/safe. And make sure to stop by Windy City Safe's showroom at 7310 North Milwaukee Avenue in Niles and receive a free American flag to display in your home or business while supplies last.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I work for the New York City Fire Department. I've been using Balance of Nature for 8 years, I believe. It's been phenomenal. And I just got retired after 33 years. I work long hours, a lot of overtime. I teach at the Fire Academy. I run with the mornings. I work out all the time. And your product has been so successful for me in my regiment. I have nothing but high praise for you guys.
Splash into your summer with Balance of Nature's summer savings. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first set. Don't miss out. This offer is only available while supplies last. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this limited time offer by using discount code Chicago.
If you had $1 million in 2009, today it would be worth less than $700,000. That's the effect of out-of-control government spending shrinking your hard-earned dollars, and it's why central banks and savvy investors are buying gold. For thousands of years, gold has withstood war, famine, and economic downturns. It's been a stalwart hedge against inflation and hyperinflation, And the company Buck Sexton trust to help you diversify into gold is Birch Gold Group. For 2 decades, Birch Gold has helped concerned Americans convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And the best part, it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. With an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, you can trust Birch Gold, too.
To learn more, text the word PROTECT to 989898 and get a free, no-obligation info kit on gold. Again, text PROTECT to the number 989898 to protect your hard-earned savings today.
Hi, this is Pastor Calvin from Christian Liberty Academy in Arlington Heights. It is time to get your children and grandchildren out of the godless government schools. How can we subject our loved ones to forced, ungodly psychological examinations and perverse sexual teachings? You would not send your child to a school that teaches 2 + 2 is 5. What is being taught today is far worse and damaging to minds and hearts. We can help through our on-campus Christian school and homeschool program. For over 55 years, we have operated a Christian school now in Arlington Heights, and we have served hundreds of thousands of families across our nation and foreign countries through our homeschool program, Christian Liberty Homeschools. Visit ChristianLiberty.com to learn more or to schedule a tour of our excellent 12-acre facility. Take action today. Visit ChristianLiberty.com, ChristianLiberty.com.
7:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update is a service of Del Bacchio Marchetti, a group of ad properties, Christie's International Real Estate, experts in the northwest suburbs and Chicago. With over $800 million in sales, you'll get the most value for your home. Call 708-828-0000. Eden's at 18 minutes, Lake Cook Road to the junction. The Kennedy 38, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Accident right lane block inbound right at the circle. It's 22 minutes and climbing now on the inbound Dan Ryan in from 95th. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our AccuWeather meteorologist Steve Williams.
Today, mostly sunny, terrific day. High today, 75. Clear this evening, then clouds late tonight, a shower, low 63. Partly sunny, a shower in the area tomorrow, and the high at 85. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
55 right now. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by In the Know with Wealth Management Group, hosted by Craig and Leslie Bolano Sunday mornings at 10. Learn more at investwithwmg.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J is Charles Thomas, former ABC 7 political reporter.
Good morning.
And Charles, the Trump War Room, Trump campaign, released an ad after Thursday night's debate. You won't be surprised to learn. Needless to say, the drugs didn't work is the title.
Both sides. Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare, we're trying to provide housing for Black Americans. The impact on the choice. The idea that they're gonna, I'm proposing that everybody, the millionaires pay 1%. So no one I've not raised the cost of Social Security for anybody. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6.
My favorite.
And wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for the us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it stopped. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
You got that?
Yeah. Obviously, those were snippets of various answers throughout the debate, but there wasn't a cogent sentence among them. You know, and again, I don't want to turn this into Kevin Kline's script, but at some point, does it become a national security issue, as you were suggesting, saying, you know, this guy has his finger, well, has the nuclear codes, right? He's got the football in tow. Does it become a national security issue where he would need to be overruled if he's unable to think clearly about an important decision? I mean, you've got a couple of wars and all sorts of other threats afoot, and you have Zelensky now saying he's ready to negotiate. Speaking of one of the wars.
We have to find and to prepare this plan and to put this plan on the table during months. We don't have too much time because we have a lot of wounded and dead people on the battlefield and through civilians. That's why we don't want to have this war during years. So that's why we want to prepare this joint plan, put it on the table to the second peace summit.
You know, Biden's administration's policy has just totally sideways in Ukraine. And it's been that way for well over a year. And the mainstream media has lied repeatedly about what's going on in Ukraine. The West is losing. NATO is losing horribly. And I've been reading it for the past year, both sides of it. And it's clear that the Biden administration has failed in this regard. And they're trying to hold out until the election.
And even if they wanted to pivot, do you have a commander-in-chief who's in the position to make a decision, make an intelligible decision to pivot?
You can't. This guy?
Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official. He's a visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies now. Stephen, thanks for joining us for our weekly confab. Your reaction to what you heard there from Zelensky?
One, I'm surprised. I thought that they would hold out longer before because I got to tell you, if they negotiate now, it's going to be a negotiation of, okay, you can keep all the parts of our country that you took, which in and of itself is bad. But when you add to it, all this is going to do is the war will stop for a while. The Russians will rebuild. You know, Putin will put the screws to his own country, get things tuned back up, and then they're probably going to come and take more. So I'm with Charles that this administration, though, is not in a position either on the battlefield or in the negotiating room to do anything of any benefit. If anything, they get in the negotiating room, given their record and their style, it's going to be, okay, Vladimir, what do you want? We'll put the pressure on these guys to give it to you. This is going to be a terrible disaster for the people of Ukraine and for the region.
Well, I mean, to speak to the larger issue after Thursday night's debate, too, about even if Blinken and company were able to facilitate a negotiation to to sort of the best available outcome, which of course is highly unlikely, but just for the sake of argument, what if you have a commander-in-chief who doesn't have the capacity to, ratify such an agreement, or is otherwise behaving erratically, or it demonstrates that he doesn't have the ability to internalize, understand, process the situation. What do you do as a senior level or cabinet level official?
Well, first, you're proposing that as if it were a hypothetical.
Well, yeah.
It's not a hypothetical. It is what we have today. Even if in some moments Biden is lucid and can think, we don't know when those moments are going to come. We don't know if halfway through a decision it's going to change. This is massively dangerous for the national security of the United States and for every country aligned with us, because the others are looking and probably chuckling and going, man, this stuff is ripe. I don't know. We don't know who's going to win in November, but boy, we got an opportunity to do something now. We ought to try and do it. So, yeah, it is a very, very dangerous situation for America right now, not just in Ukraine, but in Israel, in Latin America, in the rest of the Middle East, in Asia. Gosh, the potential all over for hostile nations to take advantage of what is now common knowledge, even though you still have some Biden allies trying to continue the gaslight and say, oh, no, what everybody else said is wrong. Come on. Ray Charles could have seen it watching the debate, and most of us saw it long before that.
Well, that's
a very tenuous time.
Well, that's the other thing I wanted to ask too. Is I know if you're watching CNN and MSNBC, you may have been surprised by what happened on Thursday night, but I assume the Chinese communists and Russian intel agencies have a little bit more broad perspective. I mean, and not to mention, you've seen him on international stages with other world leaders in behaving in a concerning fashion. So, I mean, our enemies already knew about Biden's condition, didn't they?
Absolutely. We do psychological studies of international leaders all the time. We have whole sections of the CIA that sit there. These are, psychologists with PhDs and who just watch speeches, read documents, look at film and TV to see any signal that there's something wrong with these folks. They all do the same thing to us. Can you imagine hey, we got another one. He did another speech. Oh, God, he fell down again, or he got lost on another stage. That is all grist for their mills to make decisions on what they can get away with when. And then to see this and see all of his allies, watching CNN and MSNBC after the debate, that these people were practically in tears, finally admitting what anybody with any sense has known. It's sad for America.
Hey.
I mean, I don't like Joe Biden. I think he's a very poor president. His policies are terrible, but he's still the president of our country. This is not something to celebrate today. Maybe after November we can celebrate, but right now he's still the guy in charge. He does have the nuclear codes. He will get the deference from the military and everybody else that the president is supposed to have, but he cannot operate effectively. We are in a big pickle here.
Hey, a big pickle. I can't believe I'm going to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it. Would America be better off with Kamala, who's at least not impaired, ditzy, but not impaired? I mean, would we be better off with at least someone like even Kamala?
I would have to say yes, we would be better, though I say that very with a lot of trepidation.
I'm not excited to say it. Yeah.
No, not at all. I got to say, when she was Senator Harris, and she was doing the confirmation hearings of the different Supreme Court justices, I didn't like what she did. She was mean-spirited and difficult and wrong in almost every case. In the debates before she dropped out, she was not the strongest, but she was not incompetent either. And suddenly, when the mantle of vice president dropped on her shoulders, it was like they removed her brain or gave her took away her speechwriter or something. And she no longer seemed to be capable of having serious discussions or to do it in a way that people would at least listen to the words and not get hung up on her unbelievably off-putting presentation. But, and the night of the debate, when they brought her on suddenly, she was coming across a little better than she normally does. Maybe the gravitas of the moment got her attention, and she, was able to bear down enough to do it well. But at least nobody's saying, well, she's nuts or she's, in dementia. I would have to say, at least marginally, it would be better to have her now, unless she decides, hey, I'm the lady in charge. I'm going to start making every decision, and they turn out to be really poor ones. But look, the boss is not supposed to be incompetent mentally, not incompetent like you and I don't like what he does, but incompetent like as a diagnosis. And that's kind of what we're looking at here.
Well, the other thing is when you don't have the boss in charge, you have underlings going in a lot of different directions, perhaps in a position where they can freelance and make their own policy decisions, whether or not they comport with what the boss wants to do. And I just think about this in the context of Mayorkas at Department of Homeland Security and what's going on at the border. And I mean, I know Biden's a company man, and I know the inner circle, they're open borders people basically, and they're looking to replace Americans with non-Americans, or certainly effectively dilute American citizenship by treating non-citizens and people here illegally to the same rights and benefits. But for example, on Friday he announced that I'm talking about Mayorkas. An extra 300,000 Haitian nationals will be protected from deportation, offering them work permits, citing the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Haiti. And again, I appreciate the humanitarian crisis in Haiti, which unfortunately is sort of a constant state of affairs there. But the lack of game planning to deal as that country descended into true warlordocracy against the backdrop of every day 2 workers shot dead by an illegal migrant in Texas from El Salvador, a 21-year-old girl murdered by an illegal immigrant from Ecuador in upstate New York. Every day we hear these terrible stories. Some of them were Trump reminded us of on that debate stage on Thursday night. And you get press release politics of phony baloney executive orders and tough talk, and I'm trying to get bipartisan deals. Meanwhile, you have real people who are both American citizens, as well as in Chicago, we had a migrant, illegal immigrant carjack another illegal immigrant. So, I mean, even otherwise law-abiding illegal immigrants, they're here illegally, but they're otherwise law-abiding, are vulnerable to this as well, because so many of these are affiliated with international criminal organization gangs. So that the border situation, I just don't want to lose focus on that, because this is real people's lives too, both Americans and non-Americans. And when you have the commander-in-chief unable to fulfill his responsibilities, or unwilling to, or some combination of the two, then you just have all of these effectively functionaries freelancing like this.
Yeah, I mean, that is a scary thought right there, because Mayorkas has been a train wreck from day one. They thought within DHS, because of his background in ICE, that he was going to be a great choice. He has turned out to be disastrous for the people in DHS as well as the nation. And he sits in front of Congress time after time telling whoppers that you're sitting there going, dude, have you watched the news? Even have you watched the mainstream news that you guys agree with, they're not even painting it as rosy as you are. To think that he is now operating with essentially no supervision, that is a scary thought. And, we've seen that before, and now it's at a level when that focal point of the lack of supervision is the President of the United States. We got a big problem on our hands, domestically and internationally.
Stephen Bucci is a former Army Special Forces officer, now a fellow at the Heritage Foundation, International Politics, Geopolitics, the Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen Bucci, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to talking to you next week.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
When you're in chronic pain, you're miserable to be around, and so are the people who have to watch you suffer. So stop it. Do something about it. Now's the time to be proactive and take care of yourself. And there's another solution other than surgery or drugs. Call QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics, they have a cutting-edge treatment that revitalizes your joints with your body's own healing process. So if you have arthritis or if you're in pain in your knees, hips, shoulder, back due to an injury, you need to call QC Kinetics today for a free consultation and get your life and mobility back. I've been to one of their clinics. I met a few of their customers. They were smiling from ear to ear, so happy to have their mobility back, pain-free, without surgery. They have locations all across the Chicagoland area, including new locations in Crystal Lake and Gurnee. Call for a free consultation, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955, 312-809-5955.
Building owners, property managers, and chief engineers, this one's for you.
Hello, this is Bruce Diedrich with Waukegan Roofing, your professional roofer. Everything starts on top. Your investment, your building, and everything in it is protected by your roof. It needs to be in good shape. That's where we can help. If it needs to be repaired or replaced, or you think it might, call us. Let's find out. Here's the number.
847-623-1625.
At Waukegan Roofing, our employees are union-trained roofing professionals with OSHA safety training certifications and have thorough knowledge and expertise regarding the various roofing systems we sell, maintain, and install. We know commercial roofing systems because that's all we do. Over 110 years of doing commercial roofs. Waukegan Roofing has the slogan,
roofs you can rely on.
Because you can. Here's the number to call,
847-623-1625.
And get the info at waukeganroofing.com. waukeganroofing.com.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency on earth. And if you owe back taxes, the news isn't good. The IRS has raised the interest rate it charges on unpaid taxes in recent years. This hits hard if you're behind on your taxes. Most people don't know it, but the IRS adds interest charges to your tax debts daily. If you owe the IRS today, you'll owe even more tomorrow. And it doesn't stop until you get right with the IRS. The good news is, getting right can start with one phone call to Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax relief firm. Optima's tax professionals specialize in the Fresh Start Initiative, a powerful IRS program that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, the experts at Optima have resolved over $1 billion in tax debt for their clients. Call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
How would you like to finally lose all those unwanted pounds quickly without spending thousands on painful injections or prescriptions? Hi, it's Donna Simpson, health and wellness expert. You probably know someone that is using Ozempic, the hottest diet craze in the country. Everyone knows about this prescription injection. Celebs use it to look their best. The problem is most of us can't afford Ozempic, and these injections can be so uncomfortable. Now you can lose the weight just as easily, but with no needles, no expensive prices, no side effects, and no worries. You need to try Lozempic, a new miracle weight loss breakthrough that performs so well it's been called nature's Ozempic. Lozempic is an easy-to-take diet pill now available without a prescription, being used by thousands to get rid of those unwanted pounds. So call now and find out how to get a free bottle.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Lozempic, call 800-686-2430, 800-686-2430. Free bottles for limited time, so call 800-686-2430. That's 800-686-2430.
AM 560, The Answer.
Hey, Charles, this is fortuitous timing for the Bidens. Biden Inc., that's a hillbilly crime family from Delaware. Guess who adorns the cover of the latest issue of Vogue?
Who?
The First Lady, Jill Biden.
The first caretaker.
Yeah, Jill Biden. Her quote on the cover, "We will decide our future." Oh.
Really?
Yeah, how about that?
That's what that's the tagline.
An in-depth interview with Jill Biden in Vogue out today on what's at stake in the 2024 election. Fascinating, the timing of that. We'll discuss that with Emma Jo Morris, as well as the revelation that Trump's CIA director, Gina Haspel, was in on the Hunter Biden laptop letter. Emma Jo Morris is the one who broke the story when she was at the New York Post. Now she's at Breitbart, and she will be with us at 7:37. We check the headlines with Mike Scott.
7:33, French voters facing decisive choices this week in a runoff of snap parliamentary elections that could see the country's first conservative government since World War II. In Sunday's first round, the National Rally and its allies arrived way ahead with around 1/3 of the votes. Today is the last day for Supreme Court decisions this term. Some key cases still hang in the balance. Top among them, the question of presidential immunity. Number of U.S. military bases in Europe are on heightened alert over possible terror attacks. It's not clear what exactly caused the alert to be raised to the second highest level, but European authorities said moments ago they're also tightening security ahead of the Paris Olympics. Forecasters are keeping a weather eye on Hurricane Beryl in the Caribbean. The agency's director, Dr. Michael Brennan, says Beryl is currently a Category 4 storm.
30 miles from the center. Tropical storm force winds extend outward more than 100 miles from the center, and this wind field is going to move quickly west-northwestward toward the Windward Islands over the next 12 to 18 hours.
Brennan with the National Hurricane Center. Beryl is located about 200 miles southeast of Barbados this morning. CTA passenger was killed. A driver shot riding on the city's south side, according to Chicago police. It happened in the Bronzeville neighborhood. There is no one in custody. Police are searching for suspects involved in a shooting that left 3 dead overnight. Happened early Sunday morning on the city's south side. And Chicago's minimum wage goes up starting today to $16.20 an hour. Cubs had just 2 hits and a 7-1 loss to the Brew Crew. White Sox lost to Colorado in 14 innings, 5-4. The news, a service of Quick Delivery Service. Visit quickdelivery.com when you need same-day delivery of your routes, ground delivery when you need it from safe, licensed professionals. Go to quickdelivery.com now to schedule your delivery. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Windy City Safes in Niles wants to help you celebrate America this summer by giving away a Liberty Personal Home Safe. Enter to win from now until the 4th of July at 560theanswer.com/safe. That's 560theanswer.com/safe. And make sure to stop by Windy City Safe's showroom at 7310 North Milwaukee Avenue in Niles and receive a free American flag to display in your home or business while supplies last.
Eric was way behind on his taxes.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. I tried to make payments.
The IRS wasn't satisfied with Eric's efforts, so they came after him full force.
They're coming to put a lien and a hold on all my income, my home, my car. I was just overwhelmed at what to do.
Then Eric called Optima Tax Relief.
When Optima Tax got involved, the calls would stop, the threats would stop. It was easy like 1, 2, 3.
Optima Tax Relief is A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, and their team of expert tax professionals took care of Eric's problem.
I owe $15,000, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Take Eric's advice.
If you have a tax problem, you need to call Optima Tax now.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-386-9945. 800-386-9945. 800-386-9945.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Smoke fumes and dust are a nuisance your business can do without, causing health hazards for employees and possible EPA problems for your company. If you need help cleaning up these problems, call a company that has the expertise and capability to help.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. I've got over 40 years of personal experience in dealing with smoke fumes and dust emissions, and I can help you eliminate these problems from your plant. Contact Vans for a no-cost evaluation of your system, and we will size equipment, design hoods and ductwork for a complete turnkey solution.
Vans uses only the best and safest union-trained mechanics, insured at the highest levels to perform the job right. Call 833-VANS-IND to schedule your ventilation inspection today. That's 833-VANSIND. You can also visit them online at vansindustrial.com. That's VANSindustrial.com. Vans Industrial, working safe since 1964.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
That's some good stuff, I'll tell you. It really works.
I'm just really pleased with your product. I've been using it now for 3 years.
I've been taking it for a while now. I feel better. I live on the Balance of Nature. I plan on taking it forever.
I've been a very happy customer. I like the product, and I'm telling a lot of people about it.
Splash into your summer with Balance of Nature's summer savings. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't miss out. This offer is only available while supplies last. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this limited time offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
7:39. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update is service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations. Combining heritage and innovation in every cup. Hot roasted locally, cold blended in small batches. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. On the roads this morning, inbound Eden 17, Lake Cook Road into the junction. Kennedy at 45, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. DuSable Lakeshore Drive jamming up northbound right at Soldier Field. And right now, the Jane Addams is slow eastbound, right at Meacham to Route 53. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Sunny and beautiful today. High 75. Clear early, then cloudy late with a stray shower. Overnight, low 63. Sunny and 61 right now. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba, Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning is former ABC7 political reporter Charles Thomas.
What a week to be here.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
You know, it was fun over the last few days, not only to watch the flax for Biden do damage control, but also the D.C. press corps outlets do their own damage control, not on just on behalf of Biden, but also on behalf of themselves.
Thank you.
Right? So this was interesting since one of the talking points on the spin coming from Jen O'Malley, Dillon's memo, Biden campaign manager, and other places is, remember, Biden had a bad night, just had a bad night. But Trump lied, and we need to focus on Trump's lying. And Nancy Pelosi and others going so far. Republicans should be calling on Trump to get out of the race because he lies so much. Okay. Well, CNN fact checker, fact-checking not the capacity of Joe Biden, but the honesty of Joe Biden.
Some of them. He said he's the only president in a while who didn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world. Troops have, of course, died on his watch. He said he's put in a $15 per shot cap on insulin and Medicare. It's a $35 a month cap. He said it's a $200 cap on overall drug spending in Medicare. It's $2,000 a year. He said the border now has fewer crossings than when Trump was in office. That's generally not true. He said, or at least strongly suggested, unemployment was at 15% when he took office. It was actually 6.4. He said Trump wants to get rid of Social Security. Trump doesn't. He said billionaires pay 8.2% in taxes. It's much higher. He said Trump told Americans to inject bleach amid COVID. We know Trump made foolish comments about scientists studying disinfectant injection, but didn't frame it as advice to people. And Biden said the Border Patrol endorsed him. No, its union supported the border bill he supported, never endorsed him himself.
Well, it doesn't sound like he has the moral high ground on truthiness, does it, Charles?
No, he's there were so many things. I mean, he's president of the United States. He's sitting president, and just one misstated fact after another. It was obvious. I think it's so obvious at this point, Dan. I don't think that this is working. I think he's got his core. He's got his core, but I think there are independents out there that are taking another look at this thing. That's why I think Kennedy could be a factor, even at this point.
Well, I mean, yeah, I bet you would have to have mass flight from Biden to Kennedy, right, for him to essentially take a second
few
position.
Points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a few points for Trump to win.
For Trump to win.
Oh,
right.
yeah. No, for certain. Yeah. No, that's definitely fair. Well, somebody who knows propaganda when she sees it is Emma Jo Morris. She's the politics editor at Breitbart News. But you may remember she is the journalist who broke the Hunter Biden laptop story when she was at the New York Post. And she joins us now. Emma Jo, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
So just on that matter of the lying associated with the Hunter Biden laptop story in advance of 2020. So now we get information based on released transcripts last week, and this, of course, has been sort of submerged by everything that's transpired. But this is important. From CIA Chief Operating Officer Andrew McCreadis, that Trump's CIA director, Gina Haspel, was in on the intel letter that was released in late October of 2020, falsely claiming that Hunter Biden's laptop, that story had all the earmarks of a Russian information campaign. That's a big development, and hopefully Trump takes judicial notice of it. I'm sure he is, but it just speaks to how it speaks to the culture inside the deep state. Essentially, is what it is, and one wonders if Trump has even a renewed appreciation after experiencing 4 years as president, even now is still learning about the depths of the deep state.
Well, right. I think we're all still learning about the depths of the deep state. I think that it kind of all has this loose connection to what we saw last week, right? Where, the media spent the 2020 campaign running interference, obviously, for Biden in the form of blocking and tackling the laptop from hell, including the CIA, in collaboration with the CIA. Obviously, you have people like Gina Haspel and participating in this, but you also have people like John Brennan participating in this and James Clapper participating in this, who also are simultaneously contributors and regulars on MSNBC and CNN, respectively. You're realizing as you kind of pan out that these organizations not only don't have an adversarial relationship, as would be appropriate, but they have a companionship And now, okay, last week, this guy walks in who's clearly demented, clearly senile, can barely string a sentence together. Having mics cut and the inability to interrupt each other ended up being kind of a poison pill for him, and just exposed how he literally can't form a thought. And if you're going to tell me that the media didn't know this and hasn't known this for years, I mean, there are clips now circulating of people like Andrea Mitchell in 2019 talking about how there was an issue, let's say, with Joe Biden's age. And they spent the entire time convincing and insisting to the American people that, no, this person's perfectly fine. And if you have a memory that spans to last week, they were calling images and videos of him clearly being senile as cheap fakes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're all seeing this as part of the same kind of pattern of behavior where the media and the government and everyone in power basically just locks arms and decides that they are going to form a ring around this president, because it's obviously not about him, it's about their interests and him serving their interests.
Well, right, and now this becomes a concern. Let's assume that Joe Biden survives this for the sake of discussion, because there's not a better option. And that's what.
By the way, for the record, I think that that's correct. I think that is what will happen.
That seems to me. I know we've got a lot of reporting, Brett Baer and Bill O'Reilly and others, and just sort of the supposition that he's gone and so forth. But boy, that rally around the flag this weekend on the talk shows and on the trail was very interesting. I know it buys time, but it's complicated. It's complicated to replace him. There's no sort of seamless way to do it if he doesn't want to voluntarily go, and maybe they don't want him to voluntarily go. But something I wanted to get to, if what you're saying and what I'm thinking turns out to be true, this piece by Holman Jenkins in the Wall Street Journal. We were talking earlier, Charles and I, to Stephen Bucci, the Heritage Foundation, about the national security issues, plural, that are associated with a commander-in-chief who is not mentally fit. What about a deep state that's not mentally fit, but in a different way? Not that they don't have the capacity, but they are dastardly and they have no respect for the Constitution. This was the topic that Holman Jenkins takes up in his piece in the Wall Street Journal. Think about what the deep state may do if this is looking not only like a Trump victory, but potentially a Trump landslide. If there's not any manipulations they can do on the front end, what they may do on the back. He writes, does Jenkins, what now? Ours was already, the Republic, in danger of becoming a government of Siloviki, to borrow Russia's word for intelligence operatives secretly manipulating domestic politics. The subject our media continues to shy away from through academics are taking it up. The revolutionary and unprecedented activities of Comey and Obama intelligence veterans Clapper and Brennan starting in 2016 and again in 2020 with the laptop lie. In my view, he writes, Biden is more blundering than calculating in this mess. He foolishly indulged his son over the years. He got himself into this situation. But ask yourself, having stumbled into a dynamic where they might need a failing Mr. Biden to hold off a Trump restoration, how will our Clapperized elite prevent the outcome they have been telling themselves and us for 8 years would be the end of America? Do you want to find out? That the concern about what all of these deep state actors and the tentacles they still have in these agencies, essentially what he's implying, what fifth column action they may take in the closing months of this campaign, or if they can't stop a Trump election in Trump 2.0.
Well, I think that that's going to be up to Trump, because ultimately if Trump wins, and that's a big if, listen, I'm not one of those people that's going to tell you just because a Democratic nominee is brain dead that means that Trump wins.
Right.
I think that there's a sizable amount of people in this country who either hate Trump or who just want a generic D and they don't care who the president is. They just want a Democrat. Whatever it may be, like, I don't think that it's necessarily just nothing but net for Trump. But in the event that he does win, and I think it's obviously more likely, that's his responsibility to gut this thing. These people this isn't just some sort of composition of chemicals that's hovering around him in the air. These are human beings with titles. He can fire them. He's the president of the United States. You have to give him some slack, because the first time around, he had no idea the depth and the magnitude of this problem, and nobody did, I think. I think that we obviously knew that there was some sort of like permanent political class that was kind of there, kind of making the government run, but we didn't realize the level of the rot. But now we do. Trump lived through the Russia hoax. Trump lived through the laptop from hell hoax. There's a lot. I mean, you had generals going on TV saying that when Trump told them to pull out of Syria, they basically said, "Okay, Mr. President," and then ignored it. So he knows. He knows what he's up against. If he doesn't know, then I don't know what to say. He obviously does. And it's going to be up to him on day one to make sure that he can pluck off basically every single person that he can. I know there are organizations like the Heritage Foundation comes to mind, which has been really, really excellent at preparing for this day, where they have like thousands of people from across the country who are ready on day one to start working for a new Trump administration. So he needs to just start plucking people off. And listen, if the government becomes beleaguered for a period of time in the meantime before new people are hired, so be it. Who cares? What does the government do other than put shrimp on a treadmill, really? I don't think that there's a big deal about having a hobbled capacity for a few days. But yeah, he needs to just mass firings. He's the president of the United States. He's the most powerful person on earth. You're not going to tell me that he can't fire bureaucrats.
What's your I mean, just since you cover this so closely and you've been through the wars, I mean, in pretty unique way. We mentioned Jill Biden donning the cover of Vogue this month. The timing couldn't be better for them. Jill Biden, the quote on the cover, "We will decide our future." Jill Biden sort of becoming a bit of an Eva Peron figure. Do you see that?
Totally. Well, I mean, it's starting to look like she is the reason for all of this. And I've had my hunch that she was the reason for this when back in 2019, when he announced for president, and he was not okay. He was already very rapidly deteriorating. He was falling off of a cliff back then. And she kind of was just there right by him, telling him that the most stressful and demanding job was the right call. And, you can tell that she's reveling in this, and that she is just relishing the power and the attention and the mag covers and the cameras. And I think that obviously I've read reports that she's keeping him insulated from all the people who are urging him, I think rightfully, to drop out, but I won't say that out loud. And it's actually a form of abuse, I think.
Emma Jo Morris is the politics editor at Breitbart News, Breitbart.com. Emma Jo, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
And she joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
If you had $1 million in 2009, today it would be worth less than $700,000. Thank you, big government. Hedge against runaway inflation with gold from Birch Gold Group. Birch Gold will help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. I trust Birch Gold, and you can too.
Text the word SHELTER to the number 989898 and get a free, no-obligation info kit on gold. Text SHELTER to 989898 today.
If you're often feeling tired, lacking motivation and drive, gaining weight, or noticing a loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone. Don't wait, find out. At Low T Center, they make it easy to get your levels checked. It's just a simple blood test, and with their on-site lab, you get your results back in about 25 minutes. Low T Center is not a typical doctor's office. Their physicians specialize in treating low testosterone with customized treatment for each patient. The experts at Low T Center have more than a decade of experience helping patients achieve life-changing results, and most health insurance is accepted for treatment. For established patients with stable T levels, Low T also offers a convenient physician-monitored self-inject treatment plan that ships directly to your home each month, so there's no need to come to the office for weekly visits. And at Low T Center, your BMI and health can also be evaluated for treatment with prescription weight loss medication. So get back to your best. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
That's some good stuff, I'll tell you. It really works.
I'm just really pleased with your product. I've been using it now for 3 years.
I've been taking it for a while now. I feel better. I live on the balance of nature. I plan on taking it forever.
I've been a very happy customer. I like the product, and I'm telling a lot of people about it.
Splash into your summer with Balance of Nature's summer savings. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't miss out. This offer is only available while supplies last. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this limited time offer by using discount code Chicago.
One of the most important decisions you can make as a parent is where you send your kids to school. But these days, it's never been harder to know which school is best. Public schools have changed a lot, and you might be thinking about sending your child to a private Christian school. But you also know that private school can be expensive, and in this economy, you might think it's not an option. Well, think again. With halfpriceschools.com, you can purchase tuition vouchers for half the price of normal tuition for private schools. For nearly 10 years, halfpriceschools.com has helped families from all over Chicagoland make the dream of private school a reality. And that can be the reality for you and your child too. Just go to halfpriceschools.com, search for a private Christian school near you, and purchase a voucher. It's that easy. Visit halfpriceschools.com. That's halfpriceschools.com.
When you're in chronic pain, you're miserable to be around, and so are the people who have to watch you suffer. So stop it. Do something about it. Now's the time to be proactive and take care of yourself. And there's another solution other than surgery or drugs. Call QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics, they have a cutting-edge treatment that revitalizes your joints with your body's own healing process. So if you have arthritis or if you're in pain in your knees, hips, shoulder, back due to an injury, you need to call QC Kinetics today for a free consultation and get your life and mobility back. You know, I've been to one of their clinics. I met a few of their customers. They were smiling from ear to ear, so happy to have their mobility back, pain-free, without surgery. They have locations all across the Chicagoland area, including new locations in Crystal Lake and Gurnee. Call for a free consultation, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955, 312-809-5955.
AM 560. The Answer.
Coming up at 8:08, His Eminence, Law Professor Richard Epstein, joins us to go over the Chevron and 1512 or J6 decisions the Supreme Court handed down on Friday. So that's at 8:08. Stay tuned. It is now 8 a.m. WIND Chicago.
It's a big day for former President Trump at the Supreme Court. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. In an hour, we'll get a ruling on his immunity claim, which has put the Trump federal trial and the 2020 election-related indictment on hold.
Justice Gorsuch said we're writing a rule for the ages. I mean, the court knows, obviously, this is critical to the federal criminal cases that President Trump is currently facing. But it also goes far beyond that. This sets the standard for criminal liability. Potentially, is there immunity for a president for decades, for generations to come? That's what happens with this court. So they know the weight of this moment.
Fox's Shannon Bream is outside the Supreme Court, which ends its term today. A former Trump advisor is supposed to report to prison today in Connecticut. Steve Bannon has to serve a 4-month sentence, convicted of contempt of Congress for not cooperating with the House's Capitol riot investigation. Words of encouragement for President Biden. His family urging him to keep running for re-election, and so are many Democrats now. Some had urged him to drop out after Thursday's debate performance. Congressman James Clyburn tells CNN State of the Union
he should stay in this race. He should demonstrate it going forward, his capacity to lead the country.
All U.S. military bases in Europe are on a heightened alert status over the threat of a potential attack. Republican Senator Kevin Cramer is on the Armed Services Committee and tells Fox.
I don't know the specifics. I don't know necessarily the countries that they're looking at or where these signals are coming from. But it's enough to put it on this high alert. It hasn't been on this high of an alert in a decade.
Hurricane Beryl ready to hit Caribbean islands, and it's back up to a Category 4 status. Warnings up for Barbados, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
It's a powerful storm, but small as far as diameter goes. These hurricane-force winds only about 30 miles out from the center of the storm.
Fox meteorologist Adam Klotz, Hurricane Beryl could hit Central America and move into Mexico later this week. America's listening to Fox News.
64 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. CTA passenger was killed. A driver shot riding on the city's south side. Chicago police say it happened in the 3400 block of South State in the Bronzeville neighborhood. Police in the CTA are reviewing surveillance footage. There is no one in custody. Chicago's minimum wage going up starting today to $16.20 an hour. Business leaders say the change has stifled development and investment, crushing small business at a critical time. Also today, for the full state, the near highest in the nation gas tax jumps again by 2 cents to 47 cents a gallon. Search resumes today for a swimmer who went missing in Lake Michigan near Evanston.
41-year-old male. The 3 females were brought in with the assistance of one of our citizens who were at the scene swimming.
Firefighter Jeff Boetto with the Evanston Fire Department says his crews responded yesterday to a distress call from Lighthouse Beach. Rescue crews have been searching for a 41-year-old man who remains missing. As the Bears continue to insist their focus remains on a Chicago lakefront stadium, the Daily Herald reported over the weekend the team has received and responded to a proposed tax resolution deal from Arlington Heights regarding discrepancies over land the Bears still own and may want to build a stadium on in the northwest suburb. Cubs over the Brew Crews 7-1. White Sox lost to Colorado in 14 innings, 5-4. Futures here for the Blackhawks. Free agency kicks off in the NHL. Hawks have about $25 million in cap room to start later this afternoon. The News is a service of Crosscom Public Adjusters. Handling an insurance claim for your home and business is difficult. Crosscom will help you maximize your claim and get what you need. They've helped thousands. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. And now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Shares of Chewy are soaring after the stock influencer known as Roaring Kitty disclosed in an SEC filing he's holding a 6.6% stake in the pet products retailer. This comes just days after Keith Gill, aka Roaring Kitty, posted a cryptic picture of a dog on his social media profile. Gill, who helped launch the meme stock phenomenon in 2021, recently disclosed a sizable GameStop stock and options position in a screenshot posted on Reddit. Today's expected to be the busiest day for air travel in the U.S. on record. Today, the TSA estimates more than 3 million people will go through airport security. Krispy Kreme is giving away free donuts and iced coffee 2 days a week in July. Every Tuesday, rewards members get a free donut. Every Friday, a free iced coffee with purchase. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Lillian Wu, invested in you.
AM 560 news time is 8:05. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk says there should be more charges.
Now, let's be frank. This is not what Hunter Biden should be getting prosecuted for. We have to be very honest. Or it's not even remotely the only thing he's done wrong. In fact, that we know of. There are hundreds of crimes here. Foreign agent registration crimes, potential cyber privacy crimes.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-568-2790. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-568-2790. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-568-2790. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-568-2790. 800-568-2790 or biglou.com.
Honey, what are we going to do with your grandparents' old coins and jewelry?
I'm pretty sure they're worth some money.
You've been saying that for years.
Okay, how about PGS Gold and Coin? They're the best when it comes to selling family valuables.
And you know this because...
PGS, when it comes to your valuables, they're the best.
Do that again.
PGS, when it comes to your valuables, they're the best.
Isn't that the place Jeff sold his grandmother's jewelry when she passed?
Yep, he checked out pgsgoldandcoin.com and found tons of positive reviews. He was blown away by how much he got. Do you? Oh, you're already on the site.
Almost. pgsgoldandcoin.com.
PGS Gold and Coin, the upscale way of selling your coins, jewelry, diamonds, and collectibles. Family owned and operated for over 14 years. Rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau, now with 4 Chicagoland locations. And they make house calls. 888-416-2701 or pgsgoldandcoin.com.
PGS. When it comes to your valuables, they're the best.
If you had $1 million in 2009, today it will be worth less than $700,000. That's the effect of out-of-control government spending shrinking your hard-earned dollars, and it's why central banks and savvy investors are buying gold. For thousands of years, gold has withstood war, famine, and economic downturns. It's been a stalwart hedge against inflation and hyperinflation. And the company I, Buck Sexton, trust to help you diversify into gold is Birch Gold Group. For 2 decades, Birch Gold has helped concerned Americans convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And the best part, it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, you can trust Birch Gold, too.
To learn more, text the word PROTECT to 989898 and get a free, no-obligation info kit on gold. Again, text PROTECT to the number 989898 to protect your hard-earned savings today.
8:09, let's get an update on the roads. We do that, of course, in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. In this update, a service of quick delivery service. When you need same-day delivery, when you need the fastest service, when you need the last-minute delivery, call Quick Delivery Service, 847-534-2244, or go to quickdelivery.com and get a quote right now. CTA Yellow Line, the Skokie Swift. Problems this morning, delays from an earlier stalled train in Skokie. Service is resuming, but there are delays that remain. Veterans Memorial Toll, northbound, jams up between the Army Trail Toll and I-290. Jane Addams jamming up eastbound Meacham to Route 53. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Sunny and beautiful today. High 75. Currently 64 degrees. Your next news update, 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning is former ABC7 political reporter Charles Thomas.
And we'll be here tomorrow and Wednesday.
You will. It's a week with Charles Thomas because the week is shortened because, you know, we got the Independence Day on Thursday.
Yeah, well, I'm only 5'8" now, maybe. I mean, short, but not that short.
So it was 50 years in the making, overturning Roe v. Wade. It was 40 years in the making, overturning Chevron, the so-called Chevron doctrine, which essentially facilitated the growth of the power of the administrative state and the unknowability of federal law. As Justice Gorsuch wrote in his concurrence, Chevron led us to a strange place, one where authorities, long thought reserved for Article 3, judicial branch, are transferred to Article 2, executive branch, where the scales of justice are tilted systematically in favor of the most powerful, where legal demands can change with every election, even though the laws do not, and where the people are left to guess about their legal rights and responsibilities. Yeah. 6-3 decision overturning Chevron, and, of course, proponents of big government and the unknowability of federal law. You know, show me the man, I'll show you the crime. That crew. As nicely exemplified by Ali Veshley on MSNBC, were none too happy.
What's really at stake here is a 40-year-old legal doctrine called Chevron deference, which gives federal agencies the authority to make decisions regarding areas in their expertise where Congress has not given explicit or unambiguous direction. Federal agencies are run by experts, all of whom are congressionally approved. Nearly 20,000 laws, standards, and protections upon which we rely today were arrived at based on agency deference.
How are those experts doing for you? How you like the experts? I mean, I'm all for people that have abilities in, particular disciplines, but the idea that you're a part of the Praetorian Guard of our democracy. You're the Fourth Estate. You're Ali Veshley at MSNBC, and you're promoting deferring to unelected experts as opposed to elected officials whose promise is and constitutional responsibility is to make laws. And as many a legal observer have noted, if the law is unknowable, you no longer have the rule of law because it opens up the arbitrary enforcement of it, which, of course, is what we've seen. The experts in all of these disciplines. Government agencies are run by experts in their fields, like Pete Buttigieg, who's a transportation expert because he has a romantic view of the airports where he met his husband. Experts. I mean, you want to go through cabinet secretaries of this administration and, frankly, every administration and really identify how many true experts in these fields were in positions of decision-making and rule promulgating? I mean, come on. But this is what they believe.
Is it Granholm?
Jennifer Granholm, energy sector expert. Jennifer Granholm.
But isn't that oxymoron, government expert?
Right.
Why would you be an expert?
That's a punchline.
Yeah.
It's a punchline here. But this is the attitude. It's not Chevron deference when it comes to these big government types. It's state deference. That's it. And the politicians empowering the experts to be your benevolent dictators, essentially, is what Ali Veshley and anybody else who is promoting the Chevron doctrine believe, as far as I'm concerned. But let's find out what Richard Epstein thinks, because his legal mind is unparalleled. So that certainly means it's a lot sharper than mine. Professor Richard Epstein is the James Parker Hall Distinguished Service Professor Emeritus of Law and Senior Lecturer at the University of Chicago. Professor Epstein, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's always nice to be here. So you want my expertise about expertise, right?
Correct, I do. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, one of the things that was so striking about the Kagan opinion, she is, by the way, a genuine expert in administrative law, constitutional law, federal courts, and civil procedure. But the interesting thing, if you look at that list, there's not a single substantive field in which I think she could claim expertise based on her academic career, even her work as Solicitor General. And so that includes the expertise associated with the SEC, the expertise associated with the Patent Board, the expertise related with the Federal Trade Commission, and so forth. It turns out, if you actually look at the product that these organizations put out, the thing that is most riveting about them are a couple of facts. The first one is if it turns out these things are divided politically by party, and they always are, the 3 coming from the president's party, 2 coming from the other party, many of the major innovations that you see are divided 3-2 on party lines, which suggests what turns out to be the case, that the expertise is not really relevant. What's relevant is the political orientation. Then when you go and you read these reports, the only thing that you can say about them on major issues is most of them are simply ghastly. What happens is they know exactly what side of the line they want to be on. They basically cite a couple of sources on their side. They make no substantive merit arguments that actually try to deal with objections that are coming from the other side. And oftentimes what they do is they come up with absolutely crazy kinds of results that are really very, very difficult to defend. And so even under the current Chevron rule, they go so far over the top in many cases that they get struck down on more particularistic grounds when they try to put these rules into place. A good example of that is the SEC's dreadful report about how many climate disclosures you have to make as a corporation. And what they want you to do is to disclose all of the stuff that you produce, which is hard enough to do by way of carbon dioxide, and then you have to figure out what it is with respect to your various suppliers who are not particularly willing to share with you that kind of information. And all of this is completely redundant because what you're worried about is the externalities that are created by various kinds of pollutions, and direct regulation by the EPA or other organizations, the Clean Water Act and so forth, is a much better way to do that. And so what you do is you see aggregation of authority by individual agencies, where it turns out instead of having just one agency concerned with one particular thing, what you do is you get many agencies who then constantly create more difficulty for people on the other side, because if you're somebody who's trying to figure out how you build the problem, you now have to navigate 2 or 3 ports. But what makes it even worse is if you allow the Chevron doctrine to take place, it turns out A is basically reasonable and not A is reasonable. And so you get a Democratic administration, you're doing A, you're trying to make a long-term investment. The Republicans come in, they do not A, and it turns out that you have to figure out what can I do when I don't know whether the rule of law which is in place today is going to be in place when the particular transaction turns out to be over. And that kind of instability is encouraged by the Chevron doctrine. And so all in all, it seems to me it's an absolute imperative that you try to get some continuity with respect to the law and that you try to get things right. And so what you see now under the Chevron doctrine is somebody says, we know this position is implausible, but nonetheless it's conceivable, and so long as it's conceivable, we're going to follow it. And what the Chief Justice said, I don't want second-best rules coming out by third-rate agencies. Essentially what I want somebody to do is to try to make their best effort to get it right.
But
now, by the way, there are bad statutes. Many of these statutes are really quite ambiguous, and it turns out that you're going to have to basically make a stab in the dark. You'll do better than average, and of course there is the congressional corrective. But the point is you should always be trying to do your very best under the situation rather than settling for a political judgment by a bunch of people who don't really care what the best solution is. They want the one that's most advantageous to their side.
Right, but you're going to hear from the Ellie Veshleys and others. But so now with these experts and all of these alphabet soup agencies, they protect us. All these regulators protect us. Clean water and clean air, and now that's jeopardized because we're not deferring to the experts.
Well, they're wrong about all of that because what happens is these guys use very flawed metrics. So take one very simple question about the approval of new sites for the construction of airports and railroads or things of that sort, or upgrading facilities. What you do is you have a decrepit facility that's now in place, and somebody says, here's a facility which is 10 times as good, and the agency looks at that saying, oh, at discretion, you haven't covered everything, so we're going to turn it down. So instead of getting a clear improvement over the existing facility, what you now have to do is to make some patchwork on the older facility in order to keep the thing running with a level of emissions and destructions that are much higher than anything else. And so what they never do under their Chevron calculations is figure out what the errors are from keeping existing facilities operating. So I worked on a bunch of pipeline cases in which the Chevron doctrine was often used to stop construction of new pipelines, and then you start seeing what's going on there. The new pipeline, which they want to stop on the grounds that it might leak once in a blue moon, is 600 feet underground. It has much better sensors, much better construction, much better flowage, and the 6 pipelines that are close to the surface, those are the ones that continue into operation, even though it turns out that they're harder to work, consume more energy, and a much higher rate of breakage than the ones that are going to be put into their place. And it's the same thing with airports or anything else. There is nothing under the current rules of the EPA which talk about the damages of the positions that are currently in place and the improvements that could be made. So if somebody says, oh, I want to go from 100, which is bad, to 10, which is good, you know what they say? You should have gone to 9. And if you can't get to 9, we're not going to let you go to 10, and we'll just keep with the status quo. So these agencies, in fact, it's exactly the opposite. What they do is they retard various kinds of improvements, and when they do that, the stuff that remains in place is a peril to the environment, and all the things that they talk about the improvement are true in spades about the things that happen to be in place. So the argument is essentially just plain wrong to do this, because when they do a cost-benefit analysis, they always have truncated vision, blinders on the side, and they miss all the relevant features, and then they get the small stuff right, and the big picture gets lost.
I wanted to get your view on the other important decision that came down on Friday, and that was with respect to 1512, so-called 1512, the statute that relates to, that came out of the Enron scandal and Sarbanes-Oxley law to interrupt an official proceeding. Jonathan Turley, who is the law professor at George Washington University, he said the Supreme Court downgraded the insurrection to trespassing. Is that your view by setting aside the application in the J6 cases?
Well, look, these cases are really something of a scandal. You look at this particular statute, and the key feature is the first half of it is dealing with various kinds of financial fraud. And then there's an otherwise, which starts to talk about other methods of inducement and so forth. Most people who read the second clause will realize it is a cleanup clause with respect to the first part of the thing, and will treat it as an independent clause which allows you to sue everybody for anything. And so if you actually look at the case that was there, you get a guy who manages to walk into the White House ground, the Capitol grounds, stays there for 4 minutes, may or may not have had a jostling match with one of the policemen, and he leaves even before other stuff starts to happen. If you basically charge him with the ordinary trespass, which is the correct crime of choice, what happens is he gets 30 days, maybe a $1,000 fine. If you put it under this other statute, what happens is all of a sudden you got 20 years that could be an upper bound with respect to what's going on. It is utterly irresponsible for prosecutors to take a statute which clearly has a primary purpose and then in an edge case use it to try to get at people where the only motivation could be that of political revenge. Because if you start looking at what the Democrats have done with respect to J6, anybody who breathed and moved is being subject to maximum punishment, whereas all the people who managed to destroy public property in Portland and in Seattle, they're let off with a wave of the hand by the benevolent party. So one of the things that's so troublesome about this is if you look at the Democratic talking points, the one that they think sticks most is the one which says you have to worry about the Republicans and Donald Trump as being a threat to the rule of law. Well, if you actually look what Donald Trump does, his threats to the rule of law is he talks stupid and intemperate things. Do you remember how many times he said lock her up when he talked about Hillary Clinton? What, 1,000? 1 million? How many times did he go after her once he got into office? None. And in fact, you can't identify a single Trump prosecution that was politically motivated. You go into the Biden administration, and everything turns out to be exactly in the opposite direction. These guys are the most political people in the world, and they're going after their enemies. They're doing it in federal court. They're doing it in state court. They're doing it with respect to financial assets and criminal prosecutions before Mr. Bragg. And so the rule of law stuff is Biden is perhaps the most lawless president we've had in a very, very long time. And what he does is he takes Trump, who says the dumbest things. Nobody wants to deny that. And then when you actually try to look at what it is that he has done, which has been a threat to the rule of law, nothing. So to give you one example, a case that I'm working on right now, is Biden decides to fire everybody who sits on the board of advisors for the military academies and 30 or 40 other things. The only explanation he gives is, I don't like your values. No president previous to him has ever decided to fire anybody because they're supposed to be independent. He does it, and when I go into the Court of Appeals, Appeals in the District of Columbia, but they say you don't have standing in this particular case, and they don't even want to go to the merits. But the public should. And the public should understand that when you have a president who's willing to get rid of his political enemies on political boards, you have a serious problem with the rule of law. Now, did Donald Trump do anything like that? Answer, no. He did not. I mean, he actually respected the rule of law. He may have talked intemperately, but the way in which I like to put it is Trump is the guy who always has blood on his hands but no dagger, and Biden's the guy who has a dagger but no blood. And if you use the dagger, it's really very, very bad, even if you do it expertly.
I wanted to get your reaction or assessment of Amy Coney Barrett. So she was in the dissent on the Fisher case overturning 1512 against the J6 prosecutor. She's against that. She wrote the majority opinion in the Murthy case, which was a very curious opinion, in my view, in terms of allowing. Okay. So allowing to refresh people's recollection, the accusation was government was using third-party cutouts to government was directly and using third-party cutouts to put pressure on private entities, social media platforms, to do what it could not do, which is to censor Americans, violate the, effectively it's a violative of the First Amendment was the argument. So you can comment on the Murthy case too, but also Amy Coney Barrett. What do we have here with Amy Coney Barrett?
Well, it depends on which day of the week. One of the things that you have to understand, I mean, look, it's the same problem. What do you have with Neil Gorsuch? He was the one who wrote the Bostock opinion and so forth. It turns out you have judges deciding 80 cases a year. Their general inclination is to move in one direction, i.e. to so-called be conservative or liberal, but they're not lockstep. There are obviously differences between them. If you had to figure out how to put the topography for the current Supreme Court, it would be 3 blocks. There is a, quote, conservative block with occasional difference. You got Thomas, you got Alito, and you got Gorsuch. Then you get the middle-of-the-road block, which is Barrett, Chief Justice, and Kavanaugh. And then you get the liberal block. That middle block goes basically conservative 75 or 80% of the time, but 15% of the time it goes the other way. I regard Murthy as a disgraceful opinion in terms of the way in which it is put, because what it does is it uses the doctrine of standing to make sure that there'll never be any serious examination of massive corruption in any government official, be it Republican or Democrat. It was the standing doctrine that knocked me out when I was before the District of Columbia Court of Appeals, when we were trying to figure out the skullduggery associated with the firing of all these Trump appointees, all illegal as far as I was concerned. And the standing doctrine basically means you can't get at any of the problems that were associated with the Biden campaign. I mean, I've looked at that campaign fairly closely, as have many other people. And it's also clear if you look at the district court opinion and the circuit court opinion in that case, this thing was absolutely a nightmare in terms of the fact that government people were trying to persuade people, not by saying, gee, I think this would be a good idea, but saying, A, if you do it the way we want it, we'll give you some favors, and B, if you do it the way in which we don't want it, we'll punish you.
Well, not to mention the ubiquitous reporting in excruciating detail, the Twitter files that essentially Elon Musk facilitated the reporting of, but something else in that, not just the standing issue, which I understand and I appreciate the saliency of that point, but the other thing, in the dicta of her majority opinion, she basically gives a sort of mealy-mouthed, well, the social media sites were doing some content moderation, so the government,
that's also just terrible.
Yeah, so the government, it opens the door to more moderation at the hands of the government.
Well, let me start. Again, I think what you're saying is what's happened is the word misinformation has become a dagger that ought not to be used. And the point that you're making is when she looks at this stuff, she doesn't say, well, I don't know whether or not the critics are right or whether they are right. What she does is she buys in wholesale to the argument that everything that these guys were trying to put down was misinformation, which is just a scandal. And, you start looking at Koldorf and Jay Bhattacharya. Mm-hmm. I mean, these guys are eminent scientists. All the science that the government starts to put forward on these cases is essentially a farce. And we knew it at the time. The masks do not do any good. What they do is that you breathe in your own infected air and you can't get fresh air into your lungs. This is not what you want to do. The spacing regulations they put into place came from absolutely nowhere. It turns out, I don't know how many times you were sneezed upon in airports. It never happened to me during all of this period. And when you sit on an airplane, the last thing you want to do is be wearing a mask. The way to protect people is to have low levels of respiration on the one hand and high levels of ventilation on the other. And unless people are doing exercises in the aisle, a safe place to be is on an airplane, rather than to be in some kind of a gym or at a party where people are smoking and drinking and lapping it up one way or another. So it was just a terrible decision. And I think the point that you want to make is she did the standing argument, which was not correct. But at the same time, she bought into the narrative of the government official that they were doing the Lord's work, which they weren't. And when it starts coming to the vaccine, the problems associated with the VAERS report, the reports of adverse incidents and the inability of the government to deal with them, you look at the CD site, it's still filled with replete errors. They just don't correct anything about the way the world has gone. So I think, in effect, yes, it was a very bad decision because it legitimated some very bad actors. And if she wanted to write that decision, she could say, well, it's going to take the political benches to figure out how you sort out all of this terrible mess, rather than writing something which says these noble people were trying to put down misinformation when, in fact, for the most part, they were trying to create it.
Professor Richard Epstein is the James Parker Hall Distinguished Service Professor Emeritus of Law, Senior Lecturer at the University of Chicago, and he'll be joining us tomorrow again, too, to go over the Supreme Court's holding in the Trump immunity case. Professor Epstein, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
I would love to be here.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line. Coming up at 8:38, we're rejoined. We talked to him last week by Lieutenant Colonel Larry Brock, retired Lieutenant Colonel for the Air Force, recently released from federal prison on, 1512 charges. We'll get an update on his situation at 8:38. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Dan, thank you. 8:32. We're watching a propane tank explosion. Live video is coming in from several news sources right now. It's killed at least 5. We were just seeing that this morning. And we're also watching France, where voters face decisive choices on July 7 in the runoff of snap parliamentary elections. Could see that country's first conservative government since World War II. Today is the last day for the Supreme Court and decisions on that term, with some key cases still in the balance. Former President Trump's lawyers have argued that the former president is immune from prosecution for his alleged crimes committed while in office. A number of U.S. military bases in Europe are on heightened alert over possible terror attacks. Right now, it's not clear what exactly caused that alert to be raised. Forecasters are keeping a weather eye on Hurricane Beryl in the Caribbean. The agency's director is Dr. Michael Brennan.
We have hurricane force winds extending out about 30 miles from the center. Tropical storm force winds extend outward more than 100 miles from the center. And this wind field is going to move quickly west-northwestward toward the Windward Islands over the next 12 to 18 hours.
Beryl, located about 200 miles southeast of Barbados. A CTA passenger was killed, a driver shot, all while riding on the city's south side. According to police, it happened this morning in the 3400 block of South State Street. There is no one in custody. Starting today, the minimum wage in Chicago will increase to $16.20 an hour. Also today, the near highest in the nation gas tax in Illinois jumps by 2 cents to 47 cents a gallon. Also, migrants who cross the border illegally can now apply for a standard Illinois driver's license as of today. Charges pending against a 17-year-old girl accused of stabbing a man who then shot her on the south side. The teen and man were in an argument on South Fort Dearborn Drive when she pulled a sharp object and stabbed that person in the right arm. The man, a concealed carry holder, took out his gun and shot the teen. They are recovering from non-life-threatening injuries. And the Milwaukee Brewers say this morning the team is in the process of reaching out to 11 injured after an American Family Field escalator malfunctioned during the Cubs-Brewers contest. Greg Braggs Jr. was at the game and on the escalator.
And so my instinct was to just put my arms underneath her because I started to see how everyone was falling on top of each other at the bottom of the escalator, so I knew we were next.
The Brewers announcing Saturday that 5 were treated at the stadium, 6 others sent to area hospitals. The team, as of this morning, has not yet said what happened to the escalator that broke. Cubs lost to the Brew Crew 7-1. They take on Philadelphia tomorrow. White Sox visit the AL Central leading Cleveland squad tomorrow night after a loss to Colorado 5-4 in 14 innings. The news, a service of Valdecas Windows for the discerning homeowner looking for high-quality and professional-level window replacement service. Contact Valdecas. Valdecas Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella's certified contractor. Visit Valdecas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka wants you to get involved.
To win the election, we absolutely must. Everything is at stake. The planet as we know it, our democracy.
This is not your grandfather's, even your father's Democrat Party. It's lunatics, it's radicals, it's people who hate America, and we must save the nation from them. How? Get engaged.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Honey, what are we going to do with your grandparents' old coins and jewelry?
I'm pretty sure they're worth some money.
You've been saying that for years.
Okay, how about PGS Gold and Coin? They're the best when it comes to selling family valuables.
And you know this because...
PGS, when it comes to your valuables, they're the best.
Do that again.
PGS, when it comes to your valuables, they're the best.
Isn't that the place Jeff sold his grandmother's jewelry when she passed?
Yep, he checked out pgsgoldandcoin.com and found tons of positive reviews. He was blown away by how much he got. Do you? Oh, you're already on the site.
Almost. pgsgoldandcoin.com.
PGS Gold and Coin, the upscale way of selling your coins, jewelry, diamonds, and collectibles. Family owned and operated for over 14 years. Rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau, now with 4 Chicagoland locations. And they make house calls. 888-416-2701 or pgsgoldandcoin.com.
PGS. When it comes to your valuables, they're the best.
Let's see, if something costs less and people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, right? And that is MediShare, an amazing program. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save families up to $500 a month, and that's huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch too. The member satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of typical health insurance plans. Double. MediShare Works has been around for 30 years, and members have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a nationwide PPO network. So yes, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you want to just plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes and see what you can save. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here is the number you need, 844-94-BIBLE. That is 844-94-BIBLE, 844-94-BIBLE.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I've been watching it on TV, and then my soul has my husband, and I guess he just called up and surprised me. He had ordered it, and I didn't expect it for me to notice it so right away. I kind of shocked my husband when I told him. I've been taking it like a little over a week. I'm taking it, and then I can already notice a difference. I do feel very good. I can't even put it into words. I feel really good every day. I don't wake up grouchy. I'd love everybody to take it. I think it's wonderful.
Splash into your summer with Balance of Nature's summer savings. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first set. Don't miss out. This offer is only available while supplies last. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this limited time offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, Sundays, noon to 1. Learn more online at mwmfinancial.tax.
10:40. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. It's all a service of Robert Half. 9 of 10 hiring managers are actually having difficulty hiring. Robert Half is here to help. They're recruiting professionals, utilize their award-winning AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. Visit roberthalf.com/talent today. On the Reagan I-88 eastbound side, Jammed up because of an accident, a right lane block, between Route 83 and Roosevelt Road. Jane Addams jammed up eastbound. It's tight between Meacham and Route 53 due to a slow southbound 53 ramp. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Sunny and beautiful today. High 75. Clear early, then cloudy late with a stray shower and a low of 63. 64 and mostly sunny right now. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and former ABC 7 political reporter Charles Thomas in for Amy J.
It is gorgeous out there. Can't wait.
Yeah. So a couple of weeks ago, we had Lieutenant Colonel Larry Brock on. He's a retired Lieutenant Colonel for the Air Force and one of those prosecuted for alleged crimes committed on January 6th. Brock admitted in our discussion with him, as well as in recounting his story, which he did at Julie Kelly's Substack, that he trespassed into the Capitol on that day and that he should have known better, particularly being a military officer. But that he was also helpful to police and didn't engage in any violence of any sort and so forth, wasn't trying to interrupt an official proceeding. And so we got sort of one perspective on someone's saga as part of this, treated as an insurrectionist rather than a trespasser, effectively. So we wanted to get him back. He published a second part of his story, his time behind bars. And then now, of course, with this development, as we were just discussing with Professor Richard Epstein, where the Supreme Court on Friday overturned the use of 1512, the section of Sarbanes-Oxley that has been used to prosecute J6ers for obstructing an official proceeding, prosecute them on felony charges for obstructing an official proceeding. Now that that's been overturned, what does that do for his particular circumstances and, frankly, hundreds of others of those who have been prosecuted for criminal trespass on January 6th? For more on this, pleased to be joined again by Lieutenant Colonel Larry Brock, who's a retired Lieutenant Colonel for the Air Force, recently released from federal prison for participation in the protest on January 6th of 2021. Lieutenant Colonel Brock, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Glad that you have me on. I'm actually still under BOP custody as I'm in a halfway house right now.
Right,
and
right,
then
halfway house, right.
Theoretically under house arrest. So
what was it? So tell it. So I read the second piece, and you the second installment of your story over at Julie Kelly's Substack. You talked about reductions in your sentencing guidelines, and you can go through how that's the scoring. He said if the felony conviction, meaning the 1512 conviction, is overturned, the sentencing guideline would be further reduced to 0 to 6 months. That did get overturned. However, you write, my judge stated in an order that regardless of the outcome of the Fisher case, the 1512 case, he is going to give me a 16-month sentence. So where does that stand as far as you know? I know this just came down on Friday, but where does all that stand with you?
Well, I just spoke with my attorney this morning, and he emailed the government Friday in accordance with the judge's order to provide a status within 5 days. To my knowledge, and I texted him about 20 minutes ago, the government has not responded yet. Now, in her defense, because my prosecutor is a female, she said, to him that she's awaiting guidance from the Department of Justice. So I'm fairly certain this is going to be elevated probably all the way up to Merrick Garland. So, we're still waiting. But in answer to your previous statement, yes, he said he's going to give me 16 months by stacking the misdemeanors. Now, he had previously ruled that the misdemeanors I was convicted of would run concurrently. And it's very rare for a judge to change his mind, if you will, after that, and he has cited my lack of remorse. Now, I have kept silent the entire time in his courtroom, exercising my Fifth Amendment right. So I think by saying, because I've shown no remorse, what he's really saying is the man remains loyal to President Trump, which I do.
Just to again provide some of the backstory here. So the only felony charge you were facing was the 1512 charge. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So the others are the other charge is just a single. What they're multiple criminal trespass misdemeanor charges or what?
Yes, sir. Like parading and picketing. Being on a restricted. Being in a restricted building, being on a floor of Congress. The funny thing is, there's, I believe, 2 Class A felonies misdemeanors that carry a 1-year term. One of those is actually up for appeal as well. It's Griffin versus United States. We're waiting for an appellate court decision on that, and there's a lot of conjecture that is going to be overturned as well. So I could see the felony, which directed my sentence, the number one, the only felony, and I'm going to call it the primary misdemeanor. But they basically threw the kitchen sink at us for, walking into the building. Everything that they could charge us with, they did.
And now they're talking, and you said, is now the judge is telegraphing sentencing you consecutively on the misdemeanors rather than concurrently, just to get the pound of flesh that he wants. That'll be interesting to see if that develops. So now that this felony charge has been ruled unconstitutional by the court, effectively, give us the story of how much time you have spent behind bars since January 6th of 2021.
Well, right now, just actual physical sentence, it's at 13 months. Actually, today's July 1st, so I'm starting my 14th month. But with federal good time, which is, 15% of your sentence is allocated to good time. And with what's called the First Step Act credit time, I have over 300 days of that. So in reality, I should have been released from prison, within a week of the appellate court ruling in my favor in March. So it has been very frustrating to remain in prison, awaiting his decision. Again, he's a federal judge. He can do anything he wants, and I have respect for his position on the bench. But he is leaving me languishing in prison, as you said, getting his pound of flesh.
And so whatever sentence he imposes, I mean, at this point, it would be time served, right?
One would hope.
Well, I guess if he does it consecutively, then he could do 2 years or right?
Yes, sir. But honestly, 2 years is served as of 20th of August, according to the BOP, and I think that number is going to roll backwards into July as we, the way First Step Act works, it rolls backwards as you serve time. So it's a little bit of a moving target, but yeah, I will have served his original 2-year sentence. So essentially, I will derive zero benefit from Congress changing the law, from the appellate court ruling in my favor, and now the Supreme Court ruling in my favor.
Have you talked to your attorney about this Supreme Court decision and what potential civil legal avenues you have against the Department of Justice?
No, sir. We have not pursued that yet. He's concentrating right now on trying to get me free, and I think that's the appropriate place. But yes, we are absolutely going to pursue remedies for this. It's just what they've done to people. It's not right. I don't believe it reflects the values of the American people, and I hope to have the opportunity in court to prove that. And damages of some type need to be awarded. I mean, they've destroyed my 2 careers. They've taken my time away from, my 7-year-old son at the time. And now I need to get some type of life back. And so I think, honestly, the court system is my only remedy for that.
Hi, this is Charles Thomas with a question that you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but do you have any regrets about going to Washington, to the Capitol that day?
No, okay, let me be very careful on how I say that. I regret going into the building because I should have known better. And honestly, had one police officer said, don't go in, I would not have gone in. Had one said, leave, I would have left. I would have obeyed the police, as I did, all day long. However, like many Americans, I still believe that election was stolen. The president asked us to come and peacefully protest to embolden the GOP. And so it was the right thing to do to peacefully protest. It was never the right thing for people that were on my side of the political aisle to break through fencing, to protest in a manner that is not peaceful. So I have no regrets for going there. I have regrets for, I'm going to call it the outcome, and for my own personal decision to go into the building.
That's fair. So the time you've been in prison, talking with, I assume you've been able to communicate with others who are similarly situated. What have those experiences been like?
Well, my time in prison, I believe, was, I'm going to call it aggravated by an activist guard inside Springfield.
Springfield, Missouri.
Yes, sir. Springfield, Missouri. I was put in the hole, the segregated housing unit, for 131 days total, 127 one time, and then 4 days just as I'm going to let you know I can get you from the captain. I believe personally that they tried to have me killed. Again, that's my belief, by placing a mentally ill inmate in my cell for 21 days and leaving him there despite the fact that I asked for him to be moved, or me to be moved, every single day. I believe when they tried to transfer me amongst actual Islamic terrorists in the communications management unit at Terre Haute, that was tantamount to a death sentence, because they were trying to engineer homicide by inmate. And then they actually moved an Al-Qaeda member within 6 feet of where I slept once I was actually out of the hole. Now, the odds of that are less than 1%. So I don't believe it was random. Now, this follows.
Were you attacked or injured at any point when you were in custody?
I was threatened a couple of times, but again, I'm 6'3", and I'll be honest, the guard kind of helped me out because he saw a little bit of what was developing, and he basically told the inmate, "You know who the guy is in this prison that's probably killed the most people? Him." And he pointed at me. So again, I'm not discussing that. I was privileged to serve my country in combat, but it's a nice little, I'm going to call it, reminder to some people that violence can be just in some ways. So it stops that prisoner from his action.
And so you're waiting for the federal judge to make a determination on sentence, and so you can have an understanding of when you're going home. That's where you're at right now.
Yes, sir. Now, again, if you were to read his order, he gave both the prosecution and the defense 5 days to get a status to him. So I think his hope is that they will come to some form of agreement on that. That way he can, dispense with my case and move on with his docket.
So,
I don't
so that means
believe that will occur.
Oh, you don't believe that will go? So it's still open-ended. You're still, obviously, you're waiting. The prosecutor said she's waiting to hear from DOJ, and you're waiting to hear from your attorney and those communications. But the hope is that, and it was particularly with the volume of cases, they're going to have to. It's going to be very difficult for them to stonewall this for very much longer because people are paying attention. So it's the hope is that you're going to get some sort of indication, perhaps before the week is out.
But I would like to highlight the fact that my attorney has pointed out to this judge, at multiple times, he's filed no less than 4, release pending appeal requests with the court, both with the district court and the Court of Appeals, where my case was for a while. And they're just not letting us out. I don't know what to say. I mean, I think it's fairly gross when my sentencing guideline is 0 to 6 months, and I was sentenced at the bottom of the guideline originally, and he's saying he's going to give me 2.5 times that sentence, the maximum end of the guideline. This is for no priors and no violence, and actively protected the police on that day. So, again, this whole 1512 narrative has been used as a cudgel to silence the America First movement. And I'm very thankful that the Supreme Court acted in the manner they did.
Lieutenant Colonel Larry Brock, a retired lieutenant colonel for the Air Force, and again, hoping that he gets an indication very soon from his attorney by way of DOJ, by way of the judge in his case so that he can be released and back with his family. Lieutenant Colonel Brock, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
They're Trump's most diehard fans in the front row at every Trump rally.
You had to love the United States of America. You had to support Mr. Donald Trump's re-election.
Trump's Front Row Joes is the new two-part documentary offering the first inside look at the men and women standing shoulder to shoulder with Trump in the greatest political movement in American history.
The kind of basis for all the rallies, there's like dead fans.
Like-minded people following their hero all around the country, exhausting their bank accounts, camping out for days in the freezing cold and scorching heat to support Trump's re-election and make America great again.
The Front Row Joes are very successful, incredible people.
Trump's Front Row Joes, from executive producer Sean Spicer, former White House press secretary and communications director for President Donald J. Trump.
Friendships I've made over the years as a Front Row Joe, it's probably the best part of it.
Don't miss Trump's Front Row Joes. Watch it now. Go to salemnow.com. salemnow.com.
For over 10 years, the award-winning KWCC Construction has been building a better future locally and throughout the Midwest, constructing with detailed planning and execution, completing projects safely, timely, and with transparency. If you've ever visited the Wilder Park Promenade along the Riverwalk in Aurora or driven past the recently revitalized Copley Hospital, you're looking at the quality construction of KWCC. Maybe you've seen the adaptive reuse of 80 South River Street in downtown Aurora, which now includes residences and businesses that have revitalized the area. No matter the project, KWCC Construction offers services from indoors to outdoors, conception to completion. In fact, KWCC was recognized as 2022's Best Project in Landscape and Urban Development. Highly recommended. A general contracting company you can count on. That's KWCC. To request a proposal for your project, visit kwccinc.com. That's kwccinc.com.
How would you like to finally lose all those unwanted pounds quickly without spending thousands on painful injections or prescriptions? Hi, it's Donna Simpson, health and wellness expert. You probably know someone that is using Ozempic, the hottest diet craze in the country. Everyone knows about this prescription injection. Celebs use it to look their best. The problem is most of us can't afford Ozempic, and these injections can be so uncomfortable. Now you can lose the weight just as easily, but with no needles, no expensive prices, no side effects, and no worries. You need to try Lozempic, a new miracle weight loss breakthrough that performs so well it's being called nature's Ozempic. Lozempic is an easy-to-take diet pill now available without a prescription, being used by thousands to get rid of those unwanted pounds. So call now and find out how to get a free bottle.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Lozempic, call 800-686-2430, 800-686-2430. Free bottles for limited time, so call 800-686-2430. That's 800-686-2430.
From breaking news and weather across the country to insight from the brightest minds in conservative opinion, it's Salem News Channel, home to the biggest shows on TV, like Brandon Tatum weekdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, followed by Charlie Kirk at 7. Join SNC, where facts are sacred, critical thinking is celebrated, and the pursuit of truth is unwavering. Watch Salem News Channel free now on Zumo Play. Learn more at snc.tv/Zumo.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, Charles Thomas from our ABC 7 political reporter, sitting in for Amy J this morning and will tomorrow and Wednesday as well.
Makes me feel great again.
Glad to have you.
Here, man, back in the game.
Glad to have you as always. All right, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
3 killed in a South Side shooting. A CTA employee and another person wounded in a shooting on a CTA bus. A body has just been pulled from the surging waters of Lake Michigan. We'll have breaking details on that developing story. Cubs lose to the Brew Crew. White Sox fall to the Rockies. And the WIND Chicago News Time is 9.
What will the Supreme Court decide? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. We're about to find out in the big Trump case, a decision coming this hour in the former president's claim he should be immune from prosecution for official acts taken while in office. which has delayed his federal trial on 2020 election-related charges.
During arguments, it was he should be immune from everything or he should be immune from nothing. You got to think the court is going to find some level of immunity for acts within office. And then how do you define an official act? Will the Supreme Court do that? Will they send it back to the lower court, which further delays this whole thing moving forward?
Fox's Shannon Bream also reports outside the Supreme Court.